What's going on, everybody? We got Starship things to talk about. We got some Blue Origin things to talk about, and then some other stuff too. I'm hosting the Flame Trench this time, so, it's always going to be a good time. Kevin, roll that intro for me, buddy.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god!
Decollage. What is it? Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
There's nothing to be igniting flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
That's right. I got to do this part too. Hey, chat, what's going on? I'm EJ, your host. Welcome to the Flame Trench. This is our NASA Spaceflight's weekly show where we just kind of go off the rails and talk about what's been going on in spaceflight during the past week. I'm EJ, your host. How you doing? I stream on Twitch from time to time. That's pretty cool. Pretty good time over there. But they put me in charge of this one, so that's going to be a good time. I am also joined, as Jack would say, by our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts. Oh, I nailed it. Nailed it. So, who do we have with us? Alex, do you read me? Are you there? You there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here, back here on the saddle, I guess, of the Flame Trench. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about.
It's going to be fun.
Might have a lot to do with this fella here. Take a look at that. That's Booster 14 on its first flight.
Oh.
We may see in a few days its second flight and final flight. But we'll talk about that later.
Yep. And bringing up the rear, Mr. Ryan Weber. Hey, you're in the rear with the gear, man. Do you fly the plane or do you work on it?
There you go. We're going to talk a lot about this thing as well. This thing's broken.
What about those cameras that are on your left? Can we talk about them too?
And cameras are always nice. But we're going to talk a lot about Starship today. So.
Cool. Yeah, that's there's definitely a lot of buzz going around Ship 35, and we will get to that. Once again, guys, if you have questions, ask us, tag at NASASpaceflight in chat. I'll try to get through the panel as best as I can. But let's start out. What do we got on the docket today? Alex, Blue Origin's been doing some cooking. What are they up to?
Yeah, they cook and they ate, and man, we've got a lot of information this week. Just about all of their lunar architecture coming up. It was part of a talk that one of the Blue Origin senior executives gave at a meeting at the APL at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory there. Well, first we also got this. I'm guessing we're going first with this. So this is the testing of the whole lunar the lunar module that is going to be used by Blue Origin on the human landing system, the Blue Moon Mark II lander. There you can see there's like a mock-up of the hatch, the ladder that the astronauts will take down to the lunar surface there on the Johnson Space Center at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. And one of the very I was sort of trying to talk first about the other stuff, but okay. The main thing the main thing that we learned this week regarding the Blue Origin lunar architecture was threefold, I guess, because they gave a little bit of an update on Blue Moon Mark 1, the smaller non-crewed version, the Mark II, and their lunar transporter vehicle. So the Mark 1 they're still targeting a launch of that smaller lander this year. They're going to be doing a flight later this year. They're already finishing that build, doing all of the testing and everything. They're going to be able to go into hopefully final testing, thermal vacuum testing in the summer timeframe, and then they're going to go into the sort of launch operations side of things hopefully later in the year. We'll see. The Mark 1 is the smaller version of their lander. It's only 3 tons to the lunar surface. It's a sort of like Apollo lunar module size kind of lander. It's still a big lander, but really small compared to the Mark II lander. For the Mark II, there's not a lot of news other than we've been promised an update in the coming months because there have been upgrades about it. But the big news is that third part that I mentioned, which was the lunar transporter, which is here on screen on that render that they showed at the conference. Now, that render shows the vehicle that they're going to be using to refuel the Mark II lander, the one that is going to be carrying humans, although there's also the possibility for it to carry cargo. It's going to carry 4 astronauts down to the surface. It's able to carry up to 20 tons of cargo to the lunar surface if they want to reuse it, or if you just, land it and leave it there, it can do 30 tons to the lunar surface. This vehicle, the lunar transporter, that one is going to launch into low Earth orbit, and then it's going to be refilled by upper stages of New Glenn rockets, essentially, with their excess propellant. Once they launch and get into orbit, they're going to dock to that transporter. Once it is fully loaded, that transporter will head off to the lunar orbit, where the Mark II lander will be waiting for it, and then it'll be refueled. Then the Mark II lander will be able to land on the moon, then go back up into lunar orbit, etc., etc. The most interesting part as well of this latest update was that the transporter can carry up to 100 tons from low Earth orbit all the way to lunar orbit, which is a lot of mass, and it can be either all propellant or a combination of propellant and payload, or all payload, right? So that is quite a substantial amount of payload. And also, the same executive said that it could be modified to carry things to Mars, and in that case, it will be able to carry 30 metric tons to Mars orbit, which is 30 times heavier than anything we've ever landed on Mars. So that's sort of the breakdown. There's also a few other little details here and there that they also said. I'm not going to go into such detail right now. We can discuss about it, and I may drop a few things here and there. But that's pretty much like the big item from Blue Origin. Like, they have this plan. They are already developing. They are already bending metal. They are already putting things together. That transporter, for example, is based on the same tooling as the New Glenn tanks, for example. So they can already start producing this thing very quickly, very soon. So yeah, I mean, lots of updates and lots of really interesting stuff from Blue Origin.
Okay, Alex, I actually got a question, man. I mean, that was a pretty succinct. It was pretty succinct. You covered a lot of things, but did you just say? And I'm not trying to call you out. Like, did you just say that this tankage is made on the same tooling as New Glenn?
Yeah, he said that it's 7 meters in diameter, and that it's going to be used in the same production line as a New Glenn boosters and second stages. He said, in fact, that the length of the transporter is roughly the same as the length of the New Glenn second stage. So it's going to be made out of the same kind of tanks as New Glenn. So that means they are able to lower the cost, be able to produce it, be more readily available and things like that. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, who wouldn't do that?
Yeah. I'm wondering how that's going to jive with the fairing. Like, what are they going to do for an aerodynamic, from an aerodynamic perspective?
I have two thoughts, or like two options in mind. One is sort of like Dragon 1 style, where you just have like a nose cone on top. Because can we go back to the render? Because it has like a sun shield kind of thing. Obviously, for we may talk about this as well in the discussion. They have the zero boil off technology, right? So they need to cool off the propellants to not boil off. but that is probably going to be sort of like enclosed, or like it's not going to be deployed from the launch. Of course, it's going to be just folded. But you could, in theory, just have like fairings just for that, and the top like have like a nose cone or something, and pop it off as you go into flight, right? Or the alternative, which is a wider fairing, I don't know, 5.5 meters in diameter or something like that.
Interesting, because if you, I mean that's what I was wondering. You said like everything else makes perfect sense. Like I get the Mark 1. The Mark 1's your cargo lander. Mark 2 is your crew lander. Right? You work out from there, and you make your architecture. We can talk more about like how they're going to get that stuff out there in a second. But that's the thing that kind of stood out in my mind. Like how what are you just going to put a nose cone on top of this thing? I mean, if we go back to the image of the render image of the thing on orbit, right? You could tell the front has some taper going, so there's got to be some kind of nose cone there, right? Like, it's designed to fit inside the fairing. Ryan, what's up?
I mean, just do a fairing like the rocket behind you, or like Falcon 9. Rocket behind you in that picture there. Just do a fairing like that. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that would require a little bit wider. Changing.
Hammerhead fairing is the word, right?
Yeah, hammerhead fairing. Just do that.
Yeah.
I'm
glad you can handle that. Be able to handle it just fine.
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be an issue. I mean, sure. you got a lot of, so guys, New Glenn second stage is very it has a lot of C3. That's a really nerdy way of saying it packs a big punch. It's got a lot of thrust behind it. It's gigantic. So with a higher TWR, it has higher thrust to weight. So like you got a lot of kick behind it. With a higher energy stage like that, you can afford to move big things like this into space. It's not like it has an anemic upper stage like some other super heavy launch vehicles.
I mean, 100 tons to lunar orbit once it's fully loaded in low Earth orbit. That's a lot of cargo that you can. I mean, sure, yeah, we'll have also Starship, but like, as a second option, I think that's a really neat second option. Let's be honest, right? Like he actually made this comparison about in the air industry, in the aircraft industry, you've got from the CRJs, right, the very smaller jet aircraft, to the A380s and 777s and things like that. And then in the middle, you have the 737s, the A330s and things like the A320s and whatever. Like you have all of these in betweens, and he was like, he was actually mentioning the smaller clips landers, then going up to Blue Moon and everything, and then he said and Starship, per SpaceX will eventually have like 100 tons to lunar surface. We want to fit in that sort of gradual, whatever you want to the moon. You want a small lander or a small piece of cargo, then you go with a smaller one. You want a big one, then you go with a bigger one, right? And so that spectrum of different options he was talking about, we want to fit in there. We want to have the a really good product that people can use to go to the moon.
I have it's a really cool example, and it is airplanes. The U.S. military is a fantastic setup. You have your C-130, you have your C-17, then you have your C-5 Galaxy. Yeah. Yep. So it literally is tiers. And I mean, if this really is 100 tons to lunar, so with a Starship plus that, you can put 250 tons of material with 2 vehicles onto the lunar surface.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I like it. I love it.
I don't hate that at all.
Nope, I don't like that at all. I love it.
More options, more better.
Yeah, right?
Yep. So, all right, here comes the next big question. I'm just gonna put. I'll get to some of the questions, because some of the questions that I have teed up in the queue are quite good. They're very pertinent questions. But so, actually, you know what, dude? Let's throw this one up there right now. All right. So here's a question from Severin Fisher that says, how does Blue plan to get its astronauts into orbit in the first place so they can use the lander? New Glenn can't launch people, and Orion is canceled. So who wants this one? Alex, you want to take this one?
Sure. It can't now, but give it a few years, right? Like Falcon 9 couldn't launch people, I don't know, in 2010, but it can now, and with Crew Dragon and things like who's to say it won't be able to do that, right? Or with all of the things that Blue Origin is cooking in the background that we don't know about, because this upgrade to the transporter was completely unknown until just the other day when John Caloris talked about this on that meeting. And for 2.5 years, we had a conception, an idea of that transporter. First, it was originally supposed to be built by Lockheed Martin. Now it's not going to be built by Lockheed Martin. It's just going to be made in-house by Blue Origin. And second, it was going to be some weird, like the tanks were going to be separate. They were going to be like thinner and longer and things like it would have been a very weird transporter. Now it seems like more sleek, more all. So what else might be happening behind the scenes that we don't know about? About some kind of human spacecraft, for example, might be happening at Blue Origin. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. And I don't think Orion is canceled, guys. I hear a lot of people dooming and glooming about the Orion and Artemis is canceled. You guys are gonna remember that was a budget request. That request was not comprehensive for funding for NASA, but it was just a request. That's not what's going on. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Ryan, go.
I was gonna say, it's only a request. It's not actually been approved. It's not been signed off. The Senate hasn't voted on it yet. It's just a request. And I mean, if anything, just stick Orion on New Glenn.
Oh, I kind of want that. Fellas, all right, you guys tell me if I'm nuts. How about, as long as we're putting Orion on New Glenn and figuring out how to interface an Orion staging adapter to a New Glenn upper stage, I mean, what's stopping us from taking that whole bit and just putting that on top of SLS? I'm talking core stage, 5-segment SRBs with a New Glenn upper stage and Orion on top of that.
Oh, you mean using the BE3Us like they should have done on the EUS to begin with?
Yeah.
What is stopping NASA and Blue Origin and the likes from saying, let's do, that transporter, lunar transporter thing? Because John Caloris said that in theory, those 100 tons, so not all of those 100 tons that it can carry to lunar orbit are needed for a human landing on the moon. So I'm guessing that all of those, like the tank capacity on the lander is probably under 100, obviously. He said it could be also 20 to 30 metric tons of cargo and also the propellant needed for a landing. And 20 to 30 tons of cargo, just remember, the Orion capsule and the European Service Module, their combined mass is roughly 26 to 27 metric tons. Which means, in theory, you could use this transporter to carry both the propellant for the lander, for the human lander, plus the Orion with the humans on board, all the way to the moon. So you could have a complete architecture around New Glenn and this transporter to carry people to the moon. You just need the Orion, of course. But now, remove Orion from the whole picture and put a Blue Origin capsule. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying that, if you think about it, if I were from Blue Origin, one of the executives, and I was like, Orion? We're going to launch our own thing, man. Like, I don't know. But that's me. I'm not a Blue Origin, so...
I would love to see a Blue Origin designed capsule.
You're small.
Huh?
You're tiny.
Am I launching on SLS now?
Did they put him on top of SLS? I mean, a blue design capsule would be good. I can't. Dang it, Kevin.
Okay,
it's Orion on top of SLS.
I didn't expect this, but I mean, I would. Honestly, I would love a Blue Origin design crew capsule. I mean, to go to even one that's capable of going to lunar orbit. Come on, sign me up. Let's do it. Let's go. And it works with their lander and everything. Yeah. I mean, I believe they're working on it now. I totally believe that they're working on it. But
doesn't he say like 30 tons to Martian orbit? Let's carry Orion all the way to Mars.
There you go.
I mean. guys, I don't mind any of those ideas, nor do I mind Blue doing their own thing. I just think that, if you take a new Glenn up for stage and put it on SLS, you don't need to do any of that refueling nonsense. You could just send it in one shot. You have a high enough energy upper stage to put the lander and Orion up there and call it a day. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there.
Saying.
Yeah, but getting there is even cooler, man.
Oh,
am I wrong?
Oh, no. Nightbot command incoming. Here we go. But anyways, yeah, I love what Blue Origin's cooking up. I mean, hey, more tonnage to the moon is the better. We can make the space stations in lunar orbit. Heck, this will allow us to put more tonnage towards Mars in the long run as well. I mean, moon is one thing, but go to Mars, go to Europa, go to Titan, start listing planets you can take stuff to.
But with an SLS and this architecture on top of it, you could do more. You could do even more. You could send more. Just saying. Less flights. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
Well, I agree with you. I can't wait. I want it.
Stop agreeing with me.
We might disagree later in the episode, so we'll wait till then.
All right. I'm gonna. What's up, Alex?
Well, I was gonna say that one of the things that got me excited about this update is precisely that. Like we've got it's true that for years and years Blue Origin has been too quiet about many things and everything. They've been trying to do things sort of on their own and everything. Not on their own, but behind the scenes and everything, sort of not trying to talk about it in the public. And now they're talking about it in public and giving actual concrete information. Because before it was like, oh, the road to space, oh, the millions of people living in space, and it's like, okay, but how are you going to do it, right? It's like, and now we're getting concrete information, like we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to be like that. And maybe in the future this could open up this, and it's like he mentioned the 30 tons to Mars. He also mentioned that because of the hydrogen storage with zero boil off, they could in theory adapt it to have nuclear thermal propulsion, for example, right? Like you could have that, or you could have some kind of other hydrogen based propulsion. He mentioned many of these things, and it's like, this is the kind of thing that I've been waiting for so long, for another big company with the enough money backing to talk about, like, do big things, do stuff that inspires, that actually is, tangible. And it's true that right now they're talking more than we're seeing, right? Because it's true that they have not launched a lot. They've only launched one New Glenn rocket. But the prospect is there, right? Like the plans are there, and I think they're going to come to fruition because they have Jeff Bezos behind them, and he puts a lot of money into it. So we'll see.
So
hype over.
Yeah.
The Nightbot command is Ryan Weber finally gets to be launched on shuttle legacy hardware for the bargain price of $2 billion a time. Exclamation point Orion, I guess.
That's funny. I'm laughing. Anyway, so okay, fellas, I got another question. I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I like Blue, but is zero boil off a name of this, or are they actually gonna try to get zero boil off? Because like, what constitutes not boiling off your propellants here? And so, all right, and I guess we could talk about refueling too, because I have some other questions about this architecture, if you guys don't mind, right? Like, what does zero boil off mean? Like, so for the people that don't know, you have cryogenic propellants, and the cryogenic propellants, like liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, they have to, in order for them to exist as a liquid, they have to be really cold. They have to be really cold and at pressure. And when you're really cold and at pressure, they like to boil. Like if you take water, you put it on the stove, boils at 100 C or 212 Fahrenheit, right? They boil off. So eventually it'll all turn to gas. The gas does pressurize the tanks, right? But you have to vent because you don't want to overpressurize your tanks, right? The thing that you have to deal with is that these propellants are always going to be boiling off. So you need to either have some kind of pressurization system, or you need a sun shield like what Blue is doing. Like, do you really think, Ryan, do you really think they've achieved zero boil off here? Like, or do you think that's just like the name of the technology, right?
It's kind of like the same thing as saying zero G. It's not
Yeah,
really.
okay.
I think that's
Yeah,
where I think
yeah.
they're where it's at. It's like, well, it's not exactly. It's more like microgravity. I think they've
Micro
achieved
boil off.
or micro.
That's good.
I
good, I like
think
that.
they've achieved incredibly low levels. But
Oh my god! Oh my
but
goodness!
zero.
Come on.
I don't think they've gotten to zero. I think what you're gonna have perfect thermal control.
That
that
thermodynamics disagrees with you
I don't think
very
that
much,
exists in the world of physics. So
right?
I think they're getting as close as they can to it, and with the current technology, and they're calling it that because it's a cool name for it. But I don't think it actually. That's
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Like, because I'm sitting here looking at like zero boil off. It's like, oh yeah, 0 point energy, right? Like, did you invent a gravity gun too? Like,
So
it's a little.
apparently, according to him, they're already testing it. As in, they've been able to at least hold liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen for prolonged periods of time. He didn't specify for how long, but he said they were able to do that at their testing facilities in Washington. And now they have a prototype that they're also testing. I think that one is at JSC, at the Johnson Space Center, for like in a vacuum chamber. They're actually testing in vacuum conditions and try to hold it. And he said that what Blue Origin wants is achieve something that seems impossible, which is cryogenic hydrogen and cryogenic oxygen stored, like storable propellants, like like you will store hydrazine and things like that, essentially, with that technology. And it's like, okay. And then by December, a flight article instead of like a prototype of the system, but like an actual flight article of it, which is interesting. That's why he said, I'm not. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's that's essentially what he said too. Like, okay, so now we covered kind of the boil off. We covered it, the people and everything. Like, I'm not trying to poke holes in this architecture. I'm just trying to figure out where Blue's mind is at, like what they need to do, because those are some pretty lofty goals, right? It's like how SpaceX says they're going to get the second pad done, by the end of this year, and then the Starship pad at the Cape is going to be launching stuff by the end of the year. It's like, you sure about that? You sure? Are you sure about that? Like there's still a ton of stuff like SpaceX with Starship. There's still a ton of stuff that they have to figure out, like on-orbit refueling, right? Like, this is totally untested with hydrolox. I mean, SpaceX has made some strides with liquid methane and liquid oxygen, but we do have some things here with, liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen is a kind of a different ball game. Like, Alex, can you kind of talk us through like how you'd go about doing orbital refueling and kind of how it works? Because this is a big thing to solve. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's not an unsolvable goal, right? But
yeah,
you're going to have to do multiple refueling trips here of that transfer vehicle, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm sort of missing, right, from this talk, that he did not give a number. We're all anxious to know the number of refuelings, both for Starship and for this, because it's like, that's going to be the key. If you launch too many times, if you need so many launches for the amount of things that you're going to be landing, it's like, maybe it doesn't, right? Like, you probably need to get a point where you optimize it. Anyways, back to the transfer. I have no idea how Blue Origin is going to be doing it. I'm going to be honest with that. He did not talk about the methods that they're going to be using. We do know a bit about the Starship side of things because of the HLS contract. And I mean, Blue Origin also has an HLS contract, but it's not being as talked about because it's not that soon. For Starship, last year we got on one of these multiple different meetings and everything from NASA and all that, We had information about how they're going to be doing it, very, general brushes about how it's going to be done. Essentially, they're going to be using the same interfaces that they use for loading propellant. They're going to have a probe and drogue sort of docking system. We've already seen some of the renders from SpaceX. Pieces of hardware, of prototype hardware, have already been rolling out from the Star Factory. But one of the key things is that in the case of Starship, they're going to be using pressure differential and settling of the propellants. So it's not going to be with pumps or anything like that, or at least initially they're not considering that. The NASA person did say that it could be considered in the future if need be, but that's essentially the way that they're going to be doing it. Just the one that's giving the propellant has a higher tank pressure than the other. They settle the tanks, the fluid on that ship, and then you open the valves and just flows to the other one. And so that's more or less. But it's like that's really complicated because you have a very big vehicle with liquid on board. You have to do attitude control while all of it is sloshing around and everything, and you need to come in contact with the other dock, which is already complicated with such a huge vehicle. Same deal will be with the Mark II lander because it's still big, even though it's not as big. And then you have to actually make contact with the surface, with the interfaces. You have to make sure that there are no leaks, that it's all of it airtight and everything. Like, it's gonna be super complicated. It's not just you dock. It's not like Kerbal, right? You just press the cross feed and everything. Like, it's not gonna be like that.
It's just doing so. What's called RPOD. So that's rendezvous proximity operations and docking. Doing RPOD is something. Does Blue have any experience in that? And once again, I'm not. Don't get confused. I know you just got a SpaceX shirt on. Like, no. I'm just wondering, like, doing rendezvous proximity operations and docking that's a lot. There's a lot of unknown unknowns that Blue has to get through to do this architecture. Like. That's a lot of stuff to figure out. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, Jeff has deep pockets. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, that's this timeline to get all that stuff done is kind of nuts, dude. Like, another thing that comes into my mind, and Ryan, this is more logistical side of things that I'm gonna throw this one to you, is like, okay, you have one New Glenn pad that can launch one New Glenn. We don't know what its maximum flight rate is. How are you going to get all this stuff up there relatively expedient, right? Because we all kind of agree there's zero boil off is like saying zero gravity, right? That's not true. So there's still going to be boil off. How are you going to balance all these operations with one launch pad, right?
Well,
like, what do you
say think? if some of the budget is right and we're not getting SLS after Artemis 3, just take pad 39B. Anyways, which yeah.
New Glenn on a mobile launcher when?
Or just, you can do the same thing SpaceX did with 39A, just do it with 39B. Pretty sure 39B could take a New Glenn, but, I don't think it would have much of an issue with that. By the way, I think they'll build more pads. The question is how far out are those pads?
Right.
Logistics.
Given the timeline, dude, we should probably start seeing some terrain get moved around soon, right? Like
it's kind of the same thing with Starship as it is with New Glenn. A lot of these lofty goals of getting a bunch of propellant and a bunch of mass into orbit for refueling, for cargo, for anything, you then run into the thing of, well, how do you use that much propellant in the rocket launches? Where do you store it all? How do you get it all trucked in or piped in? How do you, what's your launch cadence you're going to have? All this stuff. Like, can Blue, how many launches can you do in a month on 36? We don't know right now. That's the biggest thing. We don't know. I don't even think Blue Origin even knows they probably have a goal. But even with one launch out of the way, I don't think they know how many you can do in a month. And it becomes a question of what's the cadence, how quickly can they ramp up New Glenn cadence too. So there's a lot of question marks with it. But I do love the goals. I think they'll get there. And like with everything else, I think it's going to take a few years to ramp it up and get there. But I think they will.
Kevin, what do you got for me here? Shot in chaser. What is this? Target in chaser for the propellant transfer.
Yeah, those are the slides from the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, that was when it was supposed to be in 2025. Now
Yeah,
It's-
and
I was gonna say
heading
that's
to-
that's not.
it's heading to 2026.
Yeah.
schedules only move in one direction, guys.
I think the hardware for this target and chaser stuff is what because the system they're going to use for docking will start to appear on Starship Block 3, which is not flying until next year at this rate. But yeah,
I have
there's
a
a
funny
lot of
thing.
yeah.
You remember, Ryan, when people were theorizing that this was going to be on ship 35 and 36?
Oh yeah, that was. No, as of right now, it's at maybe 3940, maybe.
Hey, maybe it's 41, 42.
Yeah, but
42.
I can tell you this: it's not on Starship Block 2 at this rate. It's not. I can tell you that for a fact. So.
Well, yeah, Block 2 is going away with no
Yeah.
tankers or anything.
But,
All right. Do you guys think Blue's trying to do too much all at once?
Maybe.
maybe. I mean,
You know, I
we'll
have
see.
to ask,
We'll
like-
see. I want to see how the next New Glenn flight goes. I think at the
I was gonna
next
say,
step, I want to see the next few New Glenn flights. The first flight was pretty dang successful, considering it's their first ever time launching that, or especially a rocket of that size. Yes, they had experience with New Shepard, but that's like not even in the same boat, same beast or anything. I was pretty impressed with how New Glenn fared that first try. For next steps for them, I want to see how New Glenn fares, and then I think we'll go from there. For when I look at them as a company, just as a whole. I know they've got a lot of experience with stuff. They definitely do, especially constructing aerospace hardware. But I want to see how New Glenn fares.
All right, cool. I think we covered that pretty good. Oh,
I knew it.
oh no.
What?
Orion on New Glenn. Orion.
Don't they want O'Neill cylinders? They can have Orion cylinders now.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. And on that bombshell, it's not.
I know
time
a
to
few
end. I'm
people
going
that
to the
will
support
buy
crew.
that with that modification. With
Yeah.
Ryan on top.
What? Really?
Hey, I'll go.
Oh, you don't know some of our members. They
I'll go.
would. They would buy that.
Anywho, so the other big rocket. That
No. Support queue first.
Okay.
Support queue first. We got a lot of support, and I got to get through it. It irks me seeing the support queue filled up. All right. All right. I'm doing it. Maxi Suarez, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. I do appreciate you very much. Ben Creasy Vision with a $50 tip. Let's go, Flight 9. We see ambitious plans for asteroid mining, lunar bases, and orbital manufacturing. Companies like Astroforge are developing the technology, but there seems to be a critical gap. How do we actually move bulk cargo in space? Well, Blue's transfer vehicle would probably be a good place to start. Thank you for the $50. We have Space Pub, Bless This Trench, and No More Ruds with another $50 super chat. We have Ninja Decimator. Oh, whoa! We got a new noise. All right, that screwed me up. All right, okay, cool. Gifting 5 red team measurement. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. we have Devin with 20 red team memberships coming in there. Astro Joe gifted 1 red team membership. Space Pope gifted 5 red team memberships. Mock Diamond. I didn't misspeak, I swear. Mock Diamonds with 1 red team membership. Phil gifted another red team membership. Thank you very much. And then Finitez becoming a Capcom member. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dougal coming in with 5 red team memberships before that. And then we have a store message. We got a store message. Let's see. What do we got? I recently lost some of my patches, but luckily the ones I lost haven't sold out yet. We will rebuild. You can rebuild. We have the technology. at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Please do, man. Thank you. That really supports us here.
Soon, Flight 9. Soon.
We appreciate it. All right. And then Don Quinchop there with $24.36 on the super chat. Love your coverage. A little riddle. Who will make it to the lunar surface first? I don't know. U.S. or China? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm guessing.
Using SLS, I think we will. If we scrapped SLS as a whole, we definitely lose that. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, look, there ain't no doubt that China has lunar ambitions. There ain't no doubt that they're not going to make it to the moon. They'll get there eventually. It's just a matter of time. But one of those things I say is like, you got to look for a big rocket. You need a big rocket to move anything to the moon. Where's the big rocket? I don't think Long March 5 is really enough unless you wanted to do some EOR, right? Earth orbit rendezvous style architecture, in which case, you need multiple pads, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Alex, they are working on a bigger rocket, right? There is something in the pipe.
It's the Long March 5 times 2.
Oh gosh,
5.
Is it 2?
The 10.
Don't tell me it's 2 long marches stacked on top of each other. I'm going to be very
No,
upset
it's
if
more
that's
like
the
a
case.
Chinese Falcon Heavy with 7 engines per core instead of 9. But that's essentially it. I believe they're supposed to launch it for the first time in 2027, but they keep slipping to the right. As you said, schedules only have one way to go, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. But yeah, they're supposed to launch that in the next couple of years. And they actually, I seem to remember that they said it's just going to be like the 5th and 6th launch is going to be the first time to land on the moon. Because the 5th will be the lander first. It's going to go into lunar orbit. And then they're going to be launching the crew. It's like a 2 launch profile that they have. Instead of one single launch or multiple, smaller launches, they have just 2 of the Long March 10. But yeah, it's just, and like they're not going to be doing too many flight tests. It's just going to be like the first with no crew, and then I think an uncrewed test flight with like the second and the third flights, like a test flight with no crew to the moon. And then I think it's like the 4th and the 5th, or 5th and 6th is going to be the one with people on board landing on the moon. No idea.
Cool. All right, let me blaze through the rest of the support queue here. Let's go. We got Rocketman1234 becoming a Pad Rat member. Much appreciated. We have JC Davis with the $5 super chat. What do we got here? Did you hear about the Blue Engine that are now in the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville? I know that there's some engines there. I don't know which one it is. You guys know? Either of you guys?
Off the top of my head.
Cool. I know there's Blue Engines there. I don't know which ones it is, but the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville just has recently done a complete renovation. They renovated Shuttle Pathfinder amongst other things. And the museum is completely redone. So if you haven't been there, go. It's an awesome museum. Saturn V, space shuttle boosters, all kinds of rocket engines, all kinds of just rockets. Actually, like I said, one of the places you can only see a Saturn V. There's a lot of hardware at that museum. It's a great museum. Please go there. Shameless plug for them. Okay, so Bideford with 5 Red Team memberships. What's up, Bideford? It is Margarita time at the Margaritaville Hotel. Not for us though. We're stuck here at home. Most of the NSF crew is there, but it's good. It's good. Ethereal Swordsman with a $5 super chat. Yes, a lot of members would buy the print with that modification. There's a lot of us that are weirdos. All right, cool, sweet. Takes one to know one? Wait, no. Okay, moving on. Nibbles with the 5 Red Team memberships. I do appreciate it. And then Ben Creasy Vision wanted a little more of a comprehensive response. Ben, don't think I didn't see what you said. I'm watching the chat all the time. A little more comprehensive response on what would be used for kind of mid-sized transfer vehicles. We did talk. This is already the conversation talking about having a small or a big vehicle, small vehicle, and a medium-sized transfer vehicle. What do we think we would see for mid-sized transfer vehicles? What do you think we need, guys? Do you think we need bigger vehicles? Do you think we need bigger stages, medium-sized? What do you think would be preferable for this emerging commercial lunar economy that's coming up? What do you, Alex, what do you think? We'll start with you.
Oh dear. I mean, yeah, we should probably have a little bit of everything, right? Although probably not too small of a lander. I think that those that are 10 kilograms or something, it's Yeah, well, that's just like carrying cargo on like a bike or something, instead of I don't know, like a CRJ or whatever. But it's that kind of thing. It's like you probably have to limit at some point on either end, right? Like even rockets like Starship, like yeah, you can make it wider, you can make it taller and whatever. There's a point where it's like it's just gonna be so much thrust to take it off the ground that it's like it's just gonna be impossible to launch it from sea. Excuse me, from land, and you have to go to sea. And then there's going to be probably a point where launching it from the ocean, it's just going to be very impractical if you get too large. So the same thing, as well with the smaller parts. But in between, there's such a range of potential vehicles. I don't know, like 1 ton to lunar orbit or 1 ton to lunar surface. I think 3 tons, that range, for example, will be very interesting. Which that will be the Mark 1 lander from Blue Origin. Things in the range of like 10, 20, 30 tons, that's quite decent. That, I mean, you could land a station module size kind of thing, right? Like one of the ISS modules is probably like 15 metric tons or something like that, maybe 20 metric tons. If you add a little bit more for the fact that it's going to be on the ground and things like that, you could probably get around 20, 25 metric tons. So with a lander like that, you can land a whole habitat, right, on the lunar surface. I do think, though, it's probably going to be hard to justify all of this if now I'm probably going to sidetrack here saying this, but with a new focus of the new administration on Mars, it's like I bet a lot of these people, a lot of the people that are trying to get things to the moon with clips and the bigger landers and whatever, they're probably going to try and find ways of trying to land those same things out to Mars, and it's probably going to be a little bit more complicated, but we'll see. Oh, Ryan.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think? What
Ryan.
Ryan. Oh boy. We're gonna go to Ryan for a question. So what do you think? What size transfer vehicles do you think would be good, like very needed for building like a city on the moon that's constantly habited, excuse me.
I'd say any size. Like you'd pick whether it's small, medium, large type transporters, because as we've seen with just logistics in general, you always want a bunch of different options because you're not always going to want to take everything with you all at once. Maybe you doing a smaller supply run or a medium-sized supply run or a larger supply run, or you're taking a more specialized component or something that you may not want, like, I don't know, parts of a nuclear reactor you're taking with you, and maybe you don't want to stick that with a bunch of other stuff along with it, so you want a smaller tug for it. I don't know. I could see a bunch of different types of sizes of tugs and transporters over time. So kind of like a shuttlecraft or a roundabout versus a Galaxy class or, a Miranda class, Yeah.
Use the Force, Harry.
Yeah, or...
See, I'm not that kind of nerd.
Or between a Lucra Hulk and a Venator, or you don't need a Super Star Destroyer to get everything, or a Battlestar,
So say we all.
like shuttles. Yeah.
Is it bad if I understood every single one of those ships that you just said?
No, it just means it's awesome.
Yeah, I understood every reference there. I don't know.
Alex looks glazed over.
I'm lost. I'm lost. I don't know.
Alex, just not and smile, man.
Like puddle jumpers
the parade
or
wave.
Serenity. I mean, you take the Millennium Falcon, or because the Corellian runs, you got a lot.
Hey, I know that one.
You gotta have all your options.
That's the one that Falcon is named for.
You gotta have your options.
So you have heard of the Millennium Falcon, Alex?
What?
So you have heard of the Millennium Falcon?
It sounds familiar. It's yeah.
It made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Space Focus.
He's like, oh yeah.
Yes. Just go with it.
Just oh yeah. The heck is an aluminum Falcon? All right.
Who's
me know
they?
Well, who's they? Who's they? Oh, I didn't even get the deposit. It wasn't even paid off. No, he really doesn't get that one.
No,
if you guys got that one out there,
he doesn't
good
get
for you.
that one.
All right. Shall we go to the next topic? All right. Everyone wants to talk about this, so we're gonna talk some Starship. Ryan, tee us up. We got Flight 9 confirmed for next week by SpaceX. What does reuse mean for the Starship program? Where are we go? Like, what? Clue us in for the people that have been living under a rock this week. What's the status of what's going on with the ship?
Is that Max?
Is that Max? Is this lost? Is it Max?
I think he's lost. Anyways,
Wait, you guys have
so-
windmills in Texas?
It has more than pretty much every other state, dude.
anywho,
There are wind farms out there that are the size of
Booster.
small European countries. Just saying.
hey, Booster 14 is getting reused. It's amazing. It's awesome, and it's a huge step in the program. They're
Are
okay.
you on the aerostat?
I guess I am.
That,
Just don't cut the power lines, though.
yeah, just
Especially
make sure
the
that thing
ones
doesn't
to there.
crash. They need that thing.
I'm flying. We're not flying yet, but I'm at least sitting on it.
What? Really?
What?
You're going to be sitting on the aerostat?
Yeah,
Since when?
I'm gonna sit on. That's how I'm watching Flight 9. Don't you know?
Yeah.
Jokes aside. Anyway,
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I was just testing you. All right. Talk to me about the booster, Ryan. Let's go.
Kevin is distracting us.
I think it's funny.
Oh, it's funny, but
It's
Kevin's
amazing.
distracting us. But yeah, they're gonna reuse a booster for the first time in the Starship program. It's awesome. It's amazing.
baby.
I love it. Sadly, it's not being caught. They are going to put it into the Gulf, but they're going to do a lot of cool stuff with it. They're trying to refine booster's trajectory during this flight, to get a little bit better, more performance out of it. It's kind of funny that SpaceX is now at the point where they can start refining booster trajectory in the Starship program. And there's ship off in the distance having problems, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on. They're going to do with booster. They even explained the what is it? They explained why they covered part of the hot stage ring. So basically, it's going to help direct booster in the correct orientation after hot staging. They're going to do a higher angle of attack reentry with it. They're trying to do a lot of things with the booster to conserve energy and be able to save more propellant for during the ascent phase here. So basically, you can put more energy into the ship, and ship doesn't need to do as much work, which means you can then also put more payload into orbit. And every little bit refinement helps, because heck, it could even add a few tons to it, and a few tons is not nothing when it comes to the overall thing. So it's really, really exciting. I can't wait to see them do stuff with, more and more fun things with booster. We've got 3 more Block 2 boosters left to go. I'm kind of curious what other things they're going to try with them, as I don't expect them to catch them all. I don't expect to catch the last few, because this is probably the 4th to last flight on Pad A. So I'm expecting some other interesting things going forward too. But it's a big step to get to reusability with Super Heavy, and I'm excited for it. I don't know about you guys. I'm really excited to see this thing go again.
Yeah, it's awesome. Dude, personally, when I first heard that they were going to get rid of Booster 14, when I was reading the press release, I was like, come on. Oh, the experiments though. Oh, I don't hate those. Yeah, you probably shouldn't try to catch it when you're doing that stuff. So I'm like, all right, dude. And also, Ryan, I forgive me, I didn't hear if you you said this exactly. Did you hear that they're using 29 out of the 33 engines that previously flew?
I would guess that the ones, out of behind Alex there, I would guess out of the ones, some of the new ones, I would assume are some of the centers. I would think those are the newer ones rather than that. They may not be though, but if they're out of all the ones that would be new, my guess is they're running a center, one of the ring of 10, and then one of the ring of 20 at least out of the 4 that are new. There's at least 3 of those I would think in each location or something. They might have spread them out like that. I don't really know though. But the other part of that is they're going to plan. It sounds like they're going to plan on shutting engines down during landing burn. And when I got that, is I think they're going to go down to I think they're going to shut one or a few off during the initial landing burn, and then they're going to try to do the final burn on 2, to see how it works, and just test it out. Why not? See if you've got that that engine out capability or anything. Because there's a few things that's hinting towards on Block 3 that they might do a 2-engine landing burn on that, but that's besides the point right now. This will definitely help prove engine out capability on the landing burn, because booster has that. Falcon 9, not so much. So it's one of the benefits of Super Heavy.
Yeah, dude, this is I can't believe we're finally here. It seems like even like a couple of days ago we were like, I don't know what's going on. What's SpaceX kind of up to here, right? But now we have all this great information. It's good stuff, man.
I mean,
it's good stuff. Alex, what's up?
In a way, I sort of expected that at some point they will be expanding these early boosters when they were catching them. Like, I even remember after Flight 7, because I wrote the Starbase update right after the Flight 7 thing, right? And we talk about the mishap and everything, but we talk about the fact that they caught the booster that we have that catching, booster 14, landing on the chopsticks. And one of the things that I remember writing about was, now, because at the time they had booster 12, they had booster 14, they were building booster 16 at the time, and they had completed booster 15. Like, it was a very crowded mega bay. And I put something along the lines of I bet SpaceX is still trying to figure out what they're going to be doing with all of these caught boosters if they keep succeeding with catching the boosters, right? And one of the things that I wrote, I remember talking about, well, maybe they expend it at some point, right? Like maybe they store them and scrap them at Starbase, or they may fly them and expend them, right? And ever since I had that thinking, I was like, there's gotta be a way for them to expand a booster, but still making a great deal out of it, like take as much out of it as possible. And I feel like this is the great example of that, where, they are taking this reuse booster, they are expanding it, but it's for a great cause, which is gathering extra data on, doing that high angle of attack entry, and then doing the weird landing burn profile and everything that they're trying out on this booster. I think it's a great thing that they're trying this sort of envelope expansion kind of thing. More data, more better. Yes, Jack, I'm stealing your bit.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot. There's definitely a lot of data, and we want more flight data, right? That's good stuff. Hang on, guys. Like if I'm like, I'm working on something in the back channel that might enjoy. We're gonna see if we can make this happen here.
I'm also supposed to check at the upcoming This Week in Spaceflight episode, so I'll probably have to quickly escape for like 5 minutes, but it's okay. Continue. Okay. It's your show.
Let's jump into some questions, because there definitely were. We definitely had a lot of questions even at the top of the stream. Okay, all right. I got a good one from Patrick Grimshaw here. All right. Love NSF, I wonder your thoughts. Why has SpaceX not used a rocket design that can be upscaled rather than have to redesign when they make it bigger, involving lots of RUDs? Ryan, I feel like this question is for you.
Epic failure.
Gotta-
It wouldn't
gotta-
be an NSF stream without talking about muted. I should say this. So they can, if there's a vehicle that you can upscale at Starship, they can absolutely upscale it if they want to. There's a couple of downsides though. The biggest downside is that they then have to redo their launch mount. They have to redo all their tooling in the Star Factory. They have to redo all the workstations and tooling in the bays once they make the gigabays and everything. And not only that, the workstation cells inside the gigabay probably might not be big enough depending on what size you go to. The doorways might not be big enough depending on what size you go to. So you can upscale rockets. The problem is it's not like stretching it is easier because you're just making it taller. When you make something wider, your launch hardware, your tooling, everything goes out the window. You have to scrap it all unless you intend on making both types. And then if you have to make both types, you then need mounts for that. You need tooling for both sizes. And it becomes a quagmire you just don't, want to deal with. So, yeah, it's not the greatest. But, yeah, they could. It just would require a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of work in order to change everything for that. So,
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them, Ryan. We've seen them extend the thing, right? They've talked about extending the thing, but if you're going to make like a wider diameter, that's not as simple as just like, no, just make a bigger one, right? You're changing all your tooling, you're changing everything from there, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Good question.
changing a lot.
Yeah,
Can we talk
this
about the
is a
fact
good
that
question.
on this
Go,
update
Alex.
they said that the flips are random? Like when the booster flips back, the way that it flips, it's sometimes like to the left or to the right or something like that. It's always random. like I know Ryan discussed this, but like, can we talk about like random? I thought for the longest time that it was not random. Like, oh, they have this big thing of like every launch they're trying to adjust where it goes and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's like random. Okay, not great plan behind it, I guess.
Right? Because on 7, we saw it go... Didn't on 7 we saw the booster go up, and then on 8
Yeah,
we saw it
something
go
like,
down, right?
Yeah.
I thought they were turning the grid fins to perturb it.
Why am I muted again? This is getting annoying.
Dude, 0 for 2.
I didn't.
Come on.
Well, I'm muted because I'm typing, and then I don't want it to be picked up by the mic. It's just getting.
Or chat's going to mess with you. They'll do
Yeah,
that
chat-
tap
You
tap.
gotta
That's good.
internalize the fact that you have to unmute when you want to
Yeah,
talk.
I know. It's been a minute since I've had to deal with vMix or just dealing with stuff.
What, you
so-
don't like my party? You got to, dude. You got to come to the party. You
I'm sorry.
better come. You better. Did you bring like a party hat or something?
Yeah, the
He's like, I don't. What do you do?
it was talking about how previous booster flips were randomized because of directional push. They said that in the Flight 9 the Flight 9 information update that tells the timelines and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where it says that in there.
Killer. All right. Yeah. Once again, fellas, I'm scheming something. We're scheming in the background. This is my show. We're scheming. We can do whatever we want here. If I want to talk about piñatas for the next 20 minutes, we can do it. I don't think you guys would like that, but we could. So if it looks like I'm like all around, I'm scheming it up. We got some good stuff. We got some good stuff in the pipe. Hopefully, we'll see if it happens. All right. Anyway, so actually, here's another good one, dudes. Have we? This is coming from Prime Soft Air. Elon said recently that he's gonna give a speech around Starbase. Alex, Ryan, actually, Alex, I'll toss this over to you. Have we heard anything about that? Have we heard Elon said he's gonna actually go back down to Starbase and do actually talk about rockets for a change? Ryan, you heard anything about? Dude, a pinata,
what?
awesome.
What?
This is my show now, baby. Oh yes.
What is this? Oh, good lord. But yeah, so he said, excuse me, he said that like 9-10 days ago or something like that. I think it was like on the 13th maybe, or the 14th. Anyways, so it was a while ago. It was a few days ago. And that was when it was supposed to be on the 22nd, which the 22nd was yesterday, essentially, on Thursday. And it wasn't. Obviously, Starship did not launch yesterday. So that's one of the things that is sort of like the big question. Are we going to get any updates from Elon from here until the launch, or maybe after the launch? Like, what is going to happen? And right now, we don't have any sort of confirmation from Elon or SpaceX. We're going to do this thing X day, or at Y time and C location. Like, we have no idea, right? I was also surprised that he said at the time that it was going to be live streamed. The past 2 times that he's done that, it's been essentially like, done in front of employees. And so he's probably talked about things that he shouldn't say on a live stream, right? And so it's being an edited video. You could notice that there were cuts in between certain sentences, for example. So he probably said things I shouldn't be putting out there to the public, right, from SpaceX. And that's fair. They need to have their secrets every now and then. But that's why I was surprised that he specifically said live stream. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a little bit more to the general public than those other talks that he gave. I think it was like in 2023 or 2024. I don't know. It was a while ago, like a year or year and a half. So yeah, we have no idea when that's going to happen. But I really want to, if he's going to do another talk, I know this might sound very silly or stupid or whatever. I just don't want to be again, Gateway to Mars, multiplanetary species. I'm like, give us information on the vehicles, Block 3, and like every single time, every talk feels a little bit too much of, grand scheme and grand plan and blah, and it's like, yeah, we've heard that every single time. You're gonna carry starships to Mars. You need on-orbit refueling, and it's like, what specific steps are you going to do towards that, right? So it's like, too many times. But
so,
hey,
Alex,
maybe I'm too picky about it.
You don't want to learn about preserving the light of human consciousness by becoming a multiplanetary species?
I get that talk. Like he doesn't need to convince me and everything. Like, I already have heard that since 2016 from the
but he's trying to convince
transport system talk.
he's trying to convince the normies, man. We ain't normies, you and I. Oh, we're the furthest thing from you and Ryan. Like we us three are the farthest thing from that, dude.
I wouldn't mind some sort of like technical talk for once, but I know he wants to like explain it for everybody, and you can see that when he's doing like even the talks with Tim, the tours and everything, and he's like, I just want to like he doesn't want to go into too much technical detail, not because of SpaceX proprietary stuff, but he's always thinking like, I want to give this to general public and everything. I'm like, I really want some technical discussion for once every now and then, but I digress.
For sure, man. All right, I got something for you guys. You guys asked, and we're gonna try to deliver as best as we can. So I got you a plethora of piñatas. No, that's not right. I got you, Zach. Zach, can you hear us? CSI Starbase?
Yes, I can.
You out there, buddy? Oh,
What's up,
there he
everybody?
is. Hey, congrats
How's
on
it going?
100K, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I got some lighting
right.
issues going on here. I'll try and fix in the background. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, dude. Sounds good. Can you guys, Ryan, Alex, you guys hear him okay?
Yeah, I
That's
can.
fine.
All of a sudden, my camera
5 by
decided
5,
to
as we say here.
go nuts.
Oh,
Yeah,
your
mine's doing the
camera's
same
doing an
thing.
EJ, Ryan. Mine just always does that, you just embrace the suck, right? Like,
Yeah, my dark room right here is taking over everything right now. So I apologize for that. I'll get that fixed here in a few minutes. How you guys doing?
all good. We're doing great, man. We're just talking about Starship. Dude, I saw you lurking around in chat. I have to ask, we heard from SpaceX that, Flight 7 and Flight 8 are different things happened. They just happened to fail like at around the same time. I actually was wondering what you thought about that because, dude, if you guys haven't watched the Pogo video, Zach's Pogo video, it's fantastic, right? I'm kind of thinking like, what do you think, dude? It sounds like a Raptor engine just ejected off the back of the vehicle on Flight 8.
It's a bit interesting. I have a range of thoughts on that announcement. I mean, some of my initial feelings when I saw that were, okay, this kind of puts things in a slightly different light. However, I gotta admit, I was more confused than anything after reading through the blog post. I feel like there was a lot of, I think Ryan actually said this earlier too, a lot of identifying like symptoms and not necessarily the root cause. So that's like a little bit, I don't want to say misleading, but it just felt like there was like information missing in my opinion. And, one thing that I was always well aware of and expected was that, there was going to be some information that we weren't aware of. And that's kind of something that I tried to say multiple times in that episode, was that, there's some information here that we're just simply not aware of, that can be a contributing factor to all this stuff. And that seems to be the case. But like I said, I was definitely more confused than anything after reading through all that stuff because, I don't know. It just seems to me like, and I'm interested to hear your guys' opinion, seems like a really weird coincidence as far as having near identical types of failures on these two flights, but then to say that they're two different things had me a little bit confused. And then I believe they mentioned that the sea level engine failed first, but I think we all saw that the RVAC failed first on Flight 8. So lots of interesting things there.
I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, they definitely kept it a little abstract, right, Ryan? They said like hardware failure, right? Like,
So I will preface this before we really get into this discussion. I don't believe that SpaceX is lying to us or anything, but what they said in that post, I personally don't think correlates a lot to what we saw. Or should I say, they're missing a lot of bits of information. There's a lot missing. They talked about an RC exploding. They talked about how
Raptor
they had a
Center.
flash. Yeah, a Raptor Center or sea level engine exploding or liberating from the vehicle. Talked about a flash 8 minutes. It had been about 8 minutes into the flight or 5.5 into the burn. And if you look back at the footage, you already have a massive fire and you have an RVAC problem at 7:45 into the flight, which is before their flash. They didn't mention the RVAC issue at all. I don't see how a single Raptor sea level failure takes out an RVAC. I've looked at it a ton of ways over the last couple hours. I don't see how that happens. I can see how an RVAC takes out a Raptor Center. I don't see how it happens the other way around. It's a lot of confusing information to me, at least. But
Can we just add one thing to that? Because one of the things that they didn't mention, and I don't know if this is like non-public information. I mean, it feels like it is. There was a lot of leaks as far as images go, but I remember seeing one that had all of the engines were gone, every one of them. at least the ones that were in view. I think that was the 3 center engines and 2 RVACs were just not even there anymore. So that part is interesting to me that they mentioned. I believe that they mentioned two of the engines, or was it just one that they mentioned actually exploding?
I think they said the sea level one liberated itself from the vehicle. I think that's what was in the release, right?
Every single one of them.
Yeah, eventually there was it was during their final, there was a screen grab of you saw an RVAC and a sea level missing.
Maybe
you can see
hang
damage.
on, Ryan. Kevin, can we? Because I actually linked this in the document. It has a note saying "See at 4704 into the stream for ROT on mission control screen." So I'll give you time to prepare. But Ryan, continue.
Basically, you see 2 engines missing. Eventually, they would all be gone at some point in this, because of course the ship. They said the ship initiated. At least that's what I thought I read. They initiated EFTS and the ship blew up. But what they said in overall, what they said in their blog post and what I'm looking at, there's just a lot of missing info. Just they talk about how they had a leak or they had an explosion with the Raptor sea level. And then all of a sudden, they're not mentioning the massive oxygen leak that they had before, or the regen. I'm surprised they never mentioned the regen manifold issue on the RVAC, because what caused that issue? That's not related to a sea level problem. That's related to the fact that engine's not getting enough methane, and the methane's being disrupted through the regen lines, and you're getting a hotspot. That seems completely, well, not completely unrelated, but somewhat unrelated. There's a lot of missing stuff. There's a lot of interesting information with it, but I don't know. There's a lot more questions than answers for me. A lot more.
Yeah, and that kind of the RVAC regen thing happened before everything else. Like that was. Well, actually, I take that back. So we saw that around the same time we saw the flames coming from the attic, through the attic, into the engine section. So yeah, I mean, like you said, a lot more questions than answers in that situation. And just to put this out there, like as far as my feelings on the whole failure mechanism thing, I always was not fully convinced of Pogo necessarily being the actual root cause of the failure. However, based on all of the information that they did provide to us, to me, that was like the most likely root cause. So, if you try and look at like examples of other rockets that have failed for similar harmonic resonance issues, there are plenty of examples out there, and almost all of them are related to Pogo. There are a few that don't directly state being related to Pogo. I think there was, it wasn't the Atlas. I think it was, oh man, I can't remember which one it was. I had these all listed out the other day. But
the Titan, dude.
The Titan.
Yeah, Titan.
It was Titan.
But that one was longitudinal oscillations. They never mentioned any other type of harmonic resonance issues with that one. But I know that there were several other rockets that have had that issue. Like I even went like after that episode came out and kind of during, as I was writing the script, just looking for examples of it. And I specifically tried to exclude anything that was Pogo related. Like, okay, like, obviously Pogo is a form of harmonic resonance, but it doesn't necessarily mean harmonic resonance is Pogo. So can we exclude that from any of from the search? And it was very hard to like actually exclude that from the search, because it seemed like almost everything that was harmonic resonance related went back to Pogo. So like I said, I was never 100% convinced that was the actual cause of it. However, I don't know. I feel like we still don't have a good understanding of the actual issue, In my opinion, I'm still not convinced, honestly, that wasn't the problem. I was really hoping for there to be like some definite explanation from SpaceX that like kind of made it 100% clear, like, no, this was not the issue. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that was missing, in my opinion.
Like, they talk in terms of their mitigations. They talk about in relation to Flight 8. They go, "Oh, we're going to put additional preload on the mounts and stuff like that." I'm like, wait a minute, you're gonna torque it down more? I don't mean to say this, but you've had leak problems with Raptor for years, and
Since day one.
you're just you're just now going to torque it down more. That's a interesting solution to a problem you've had for the entirety of its existence. That's what that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That I don't understand that mitigation, to be honest with you, because torquing something down doesn't always just fix it. I notice.
Yeah,
like
just stretch the bolt.
Preloading is a loaded statement in itself, because like, what does preloading actually mean? So like, an example of preloading, in my opinion, would be like, let's say that the when they lifted the launch mount onto its pedestals, if they had have done that before they poured all the concrete into the walls, that would have been a form of preloading the walls before pouring concrete, right? And I just don't see like a similar mechanism where how do you preload an engine mount?
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. That was kind of odd, and then because especially for a problem that we know they have had. I mean, just look back to Starhopper. Look all the way back to the SN flights. You literally see the leaks in the engine. They've had this for this entire time. Then it was kind of funny, is because they've had these leaks this entire time, and then they went to fly Booster 7, and then all the leaks culminated in a bunch of... yeah? What?
I was gonna say, dude. I don't mean to interrupt. This is a good conversation.
I was gonna say
we got a Falcon 9 launch, dude.
you know another rocket that had leaks from a launch.
Right.
That was a Vandenberg launch. Anyway, now they are go for launch and everything, by the way. This good to go.
This is a good way to segue. Yeah, Falcon 9's already gotten into startup here. Zach, you talked about how Falcon 9 had Pogo on it as well, and they what did they do with Falcon 9 to fix the oscillation problems, fix it from shaking itself to pieces?
That's one thing that we can't say for sure, is that they ever actually like had an issue. I do have my thoughts on that, but any issues that we had, and Alex can hopefully fill this in, because I went back and I read through sorry, I'm thinking his name right now. His book about Falcon 9, and they talked about many issues related to that they've had like in the past with Falcon 9, and I was kind of trying to like see if there was any possible way that there was some missing explanation in some of these, that maybe the failures are Pogo related. What was the one where the mounts failed for those COPVs?
Yeah, that was CRS-7.
Yeah, I was curious about that one. I'm like, I wonder if that was like some kind of vibrations that you had going on in the payload section that actually caused those COPVs to break free from their mounts.
At least from the SpaceX own investigation, it was that the contractor gave them not proper struts for that. Then they redesigned the struts and everything, and also the COPVs and all that. But yeah, for Falcon 9, you might hear it's already past that, because it's usually during the pre-launch stuff. But for Falcon 9, you sometimes hear in the countdown some call out that it's like Pogo or something like that. And what that means. Yeah, so they have a system precisely both on booster and also on the second stage to control the Pogo oscillations, and it's essentially this sort of system where you just pulls the liquid oxygen propulsion system to be able to keep at bay those sort of oscillations in that propulsion system, because you don't want that, because if it reaches the resonance frequency, then you can tear apart the whole rocket. And that's one of the things. I mean, you do the whole explanation and everything, but yeah, we're not ignoring the launch. We're like, adjacent to the Starship talk. The launch is happening, and we're having here a conversation. You
know what rocket doesn't shake itself to pieces? Falcon 9, baby.
That baby.
And so the mission that you guys are seeing ascend here is Starlink 11.6 just took off out of Vandenberg out of Slick 4E. The first
27 Starlink V2 mini satellites.
Yeah, baby. And then the first stage that we got flying tonight is Booster 1075 on its 18th flight. Now, 1075 hasn't flown in a little while. It's a 111-day turnaround. But she is flying now. Looks like took off really good out of Vandenberg. Now, this is SpaceX's 61st mission this year and their 479th Falcon 9 mission total. Pretty crazy here. Should be coming up on main engine cutoff and stage separation here momentarily.
I'm going to be updating my spreadsheets in the meantime.
Stage.
Because that's what I do.
There we go. We got a good separation. Merlin Vacuum's going to spin up here. Green flash. There we go. Next step here is a fairing separation. The aerodynamic shell that's on top of Falcon 9 is going to jettison here. Now, SpaceX actually reuses those things as well. They'll coast back down and they'll go and fish them out with a recovery ship here. You'll see a shot of the fairings pop off here in a moment.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And they're gone.
Jag in chat saying, if this had been foggy, they will have complained and moaned. It was crystal clear. The last one wasn't, though. And it delayed 2 days. So, just saying. It was supposed to launch on the 22nd.
All right. Beautiful shot of Southern California there. Severin, I'd call it, dude, you call it 1075, not 1075. Oh, come on, man. You're not going to get me on a technicality like that. Or, come on, don't do me like that, man. I'm juggling like 20 things over here. Come on. I got Zach on for you. Come on. Answer your question, man. I'm just messing. Just having fun, dude.
Are you guys hearing some feedback in my mic? I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. I'm just making sure I'm not like they aren't imagining it.
I mean, not anymore.
There's a little bit of tapping every now and then. Yeah. People are saying that it's me because they see me type and everything. I'm not. I'm muted when I'm typing. It's okay. One thing that I will say though, because we're looking here at this Starlink Falcon 9 launch. And we're also talking about Starship, and I sort of tried to tie this in with the sort of recent failures from Falcon 9, both on ascent, landing, after mission, and everything. One thing that I will say, though, because I have not told yet about the update, and you guys are confused about the information, welcome to my club, because with all of the failures of Falcon 9 last year, I was confused way too much, because the amount of information that we were given for some of them, like for example for the B1062, that landing that failed, we had no information at all. Like even to this day we have no information, and the only way that we've gotten some extra information apart from what SpaceX has said on their website has been, for example, when they had the Starlink 9.3 failure during flight with a liquid oxygen leak and everything. So in that case, they were close to launching Crew 9, for example, and they were also close to launching Polaris Dawn. So there were all of these different Q&A sessions and press conferences, and people asked about it. And, thankfully, SpaceX did talk about it. But it took one of these press conferences for us to know more. And so if you are weirded out or if you are confused about, the lack of very much detail in this update, welcome to my world. I was in a world, and by the way, entry burn coming up soon, but I was in a world where we had
the best part.
Regular updates about Amos 6, very much like 3 or 4 days. I don't know, EJ, if you remember that. But SpaceX back in the day, they had, I don't know if you remember from CRS-7 and Amos 6, when they had those failures, we had updates pretty much every 3 or 4 days on the progress of those failures and that investigation. I clearly remember every day as I came back from school checking out their website and trying to refresh their updates page to try to see if there's a new update. And every 3 or 4 days, there will be a new update. That kind of SpaceX is lost already. Like, that's not coming back. And that's
I wish we got
like,
that for Starship.
can you imagine if we had that kind of updates from every single Starship, investigation and everything? Like every 3 or 4 days, there's like a little hint here, a little drop, and like tweets from Elon or from SpaceX. We don't have that now. And if you feel strange about the fact that perhaps the information that is not there is not sufficient to you or enough, then yeah, welcome.
You know what, Alex? I appreciate you saying that because that's how I feel, and I feel like we're like literally left to speculate. And like some people get upset about the speculation. It's like, I mean, what else are we supposed to do? Are we going to sit here and just accept the lack of information, or at least attempt to explain it ourselves? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And by the way, people are asking, probably it's been a while since you've seen some of these, some of the people watching. You've seen, so that is not a leak on the second stage. It's a bleed line.
Yeah, those are the vent lines, guys. It's just being backlit by the sun. That's normal.
Starship has many of those.
Yeah, watching that first stage punch through the clouds. The drone ship's in view. Gridfin steering it over the target.
It's up and down instead of left, right.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. She came down dead center.
Yeah.
1070, 1075, 1075, however you want to call it. It's back down on the drone ship after being reused 18 times. I mean, 18's no big deal anymore, right? We have boosters that are up like 27, 28 flights, but it is good to see that one land. Now, what we're looking here for a Vandenberg launch for these polar-ish Starlink satellites is like 27.3 on the staging velocity, 27,300.
That is not polar. This is 53 degrees. This is very much.
Yeah, I said polar akin. Listen next time. Jeez.
Group 11 is just like 53 degrees essentially. So it's mid.
So 27.3 at one. What is it? What do we got? 138. That's perfect, man. Perfect for a launch out of Vandenberg. Now, guys, the reason why I say this polar kin, and Alex, I was kind of setting up for this, right? So launching out of Vandenberg, because you have to go south first and then take that left. They go south and then they take a left over Mexico, right? To put these satellites up into space. You're fighting against Earth's rotation. Earth's rotating that way, and you got to launch this way. So the staging velocity on Vandenberg launches is usually different than what you see at the Cape. Because when you have the Cape, you have the Earth's rotation helping to spin you in that direction, right? So the staging velocity that you see out of the Cape is usually 27,100, not 27.3. But that was a good Starlink launch. That's why I brought it up. I was trying to segue into that. You're right. It's not polar orbit. It's not.
But very soon, there's Starlink Group 17-1, which will be Starlinks to sun synchronous orbit. So there you go.
Oh, so yeah, there you go. You will actually get sun synchronous retrograde Starlinks.
Yeah, right. I think it's 96.7 degrees.
I'm naming my rock band that retrograde.
Not the first time, but yeah. It's rare to see Starlinks at that.
Wait for Starship to start doing that.
Out of Boca Chica.
I'm in.
Yeah, right.
I'm in.
Massive dog leg.
Yeah, it's a massive dog leg.
Anyway, so guys, that was Starlink 11-16. We patched one in on the Flame Trench because I'm the host. We do whatever. I'm the host. We do whatever we want here.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
Hang on, one last thing. Somebody mentioned it's 450th landing of Falcon boosters. Mm-hmm. I pointed out the other day, 3 landings ago, that it was the 450th overall for SpaceX because 3 super heavy booster catches. Continue.
But when, in terms of, we can go back to Booster 14 because I kind of want to know Zach's thoughts on some of the stuff they're trying with the booster, because the booster is kind of Zach's bread and butter more than the ship is. At least I know it is. So.
All right. So what do we want to talk about, Ryan?
Sorry about that. I thought that was pretty interesting. The what they mentioned about the hot staging, and I was talking to Ryan Hansen Space about this a little bit ago. So that statement was a little bit weird. It makes it seem like the differential thrust, which, by the way, I did mention that in an episode. The two different mechanisms for hot staging were the grid fin, turning the grid fins, and differential thrust between the engines. And I think a lot of people disagreed with both of those. And it seems like through the NASA simulation that was released and SpaceX's blog post on this, that both of those things are true. So number one, I did think it was interesting that they didn't mention in the blog post that the grid fins are involved in the situation at all. But as far as the differential thrust goes, they mentioned that it was kind of like a randomized thing. I think I'm a bit curious to what level it's random. So I think on the ship, it's not necessarily random. So they know which order those engines are going to start in. So I think we've seen in a lot of the slow-mo static fire videos of the ship that you always have the engines, the RVACs do not start all at the same time. They're off by like a few milliseconds. And then as they're ramping up, they're all going to be at like different thrust levels as they're ramping up to match each other. So during that process, you're actually having like different thrust on top of the hot stage ring, which causes it to like shift to different directions. So the randomness, I think, is probably related to the booster and not the ship, in the way that it's like, okay, the ship knows what it's going to do, but the booster has no idea what the ship's going to do. So it's like, all right, booster, I hope you're ready, because this time we're going to start it up differently. We're not going to tell you how we're going to start it, but you just have to react to it. And I think that's the cool part about this, is that the booster is basically reacting to what the ship's doing, which is pretty incredible, actually, because it happens so quickly. And other than, I think was it the third flight test, or I think it was the third one, where the booster had a bit of a wobble to it as it was adjusting, doing the not the flip, but the actual, as it was rotating. I do wonder now about that, like, even more. I'm like, okay, is this just the booster part of its correction that's going on? It's just in general kind of confused at all times during that hot staging maneuver, and it's like having to just adjust to it. That's, I don't know. In my opinion, that's super cool, the way that works. But at the same time, I think it's a bit surprising in the way that it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why random? Because you have to know what you have to know what the ship is doing. There's no way you don't know what the ship is doing. There's so much slow-mo cam. There's time. The actual timing. The engine startup is staggered. They know that it's staggered. So in my opinion, it's a little bit odd that they refer to it as like a randomized thing, and it only makes sense if they're just not communicating to the booster what's happening with the ship.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it's crazy.
On
They're
that
essentially just flying in formation, right? Like, just all the way up.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing? Like, okay. All right.
And on that note, it's going to be really interesting, though, because I've always been under the assumption that you want like as much capability for volumetric throughput through those vents as possible. So now when you're like blocking one of those vents, I do wonder if that puts extra stress on the hot stage ring. You've seen with a lot of other vehicles that do hot staging that it tends to like actually blow up that inner stage. It just explodes. So that's going to be an interesting thing to me, is to see how the hot stage ring handles that with the extra, that blockage of those vents right there. So, I mean, it's not blocking any of the RVAC outputs. So like it's, I think, the front-facing center engine that is being blocked, essentially. But yeah, it's really interesting, especially considering the fact that your RVACs turn on first and then your sea levels turn on after. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that flip maneuver looks with all of this new dynamic that's going on with the actual hot stage ring. Now,
I got a question, Zach. So, they're going to block off one side to get the booster to flip in a certain direction every time. Do you think they I don't know if we've seen the hot staging rig for this next coming flight. Do you think they changed around the vent geometry on other parts? Because, right, you're going to get a certain amount of gas introduced inside of that hot staging ring. If you're going to avoid that thing from over pressurizing, right, you need to have a flow rate of gas going out the sides, right? So do you think they modified the other vents on the ring at all?
From what we could tell, they the other vents are all the same. It's just that the front facing one. So if the ones facing the camera right here is they basically put like a plate on the front of that ring in order to, like, you know, everywhere else has free path for that gas to flow out, except for the front facing side, which is on the QD side of the vehicle, basically. So when that center engine ignites, it's not going to have anywhere for that to go necessarily, because the RVACs are already taking up most of that output on those side vents, and so the place where that center engine would normally go is now blocked. So it's just going to push it in that direction, which isn't necessarily a backflip. It's because the ship flies on its side. It's basically forcing the booster to go this direction. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I hope it doesn't blow up the hot stage ring, but at the same time, I kind of hope it does. Like, not to the point where it causes like a failure, but I do hope that the hot stage ring just explodes and the booster's fine after that. I think that would be entertaining. But on the flip side of that, maybe that would necessarily be a great thing to happen if this is like something that they're integrating into the new design for the integrated hot stage ring, because I'm assuming that they've already produced at least one of those for booster 18, considering that we've already started to see stacking of that booster. So I'm assuming almost every section of that booster is in a various forms of completion right now. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that hot stage ring or the integrated hot stage forward section roll out within the next week or so. I mean, it should be out already, right?
Yeah, soon, right?
Well, they're on. They've got the common dome section and then 2 LOX tank sections so far for booster 18. That's where they're at with that. Which, by the way, on that one, looks like the chines are a little bit closer on that, and on the back, we don't know which side it's on, but either way, I'm kind of curious if this is a one-off thing and they're just trying this to see how it is, and maybe 16 or 15, the next flight won't have it, because maybe it doesn't work, and maybe they do blow the hot stage ring to little bitty pieces, and then they go, maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Boosters can blow up after hot staging as a treat.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a fireworks send-off for Booster 14, but then they wouldn't get to try their AOA or whatever.
I said this exact same sentence before the second flight, because when they were trying for the first time to do hot staging, everybody was thinking, oh, the booster is going to blow up after hot staging. And I said, you know what? If it reaches that point and the ship gets unharmed out of that, just keep going. Like, who cares if the booster blows up, right? So yeah, I mean, they're gonna expend it anyways. Like, they're gonna get rid of it. So if this experiment just suddenly fails, but the ship is unharmed, like, who cares? Just go.
It'll be a lesson at what not to do in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. They'll just figure out a way to not hot stage.
How to not hot stage.
How to not hot stage. There you go.
Let's go back to the original staging method they had. they wanted to do before hot staging.
Yeah,
the little kick flip maneuver or whatever it was.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Nah.
I wanted to see that once.
Nah, I'm good.
Just once.
We saw it during Flight 1. It just didn't separate. it just didn't separate. It just kind of... Pretty strong stack, though. Zach, I got a question, dude. Did you, when you were doing research for the Pogo video, did you ever see that video of the onboard from the Titan rocket where it blows out the interstage from the hot staging?
Yeah, I have used that as a B-roll footage at one point. I didn't show it in that video, but I think I used that in my actual hot staging episode. But that was pretty awesome the way that happens, because it's like it's already pretty much separated by the point that it happens, and then it just like fails and explodes. Yeah, I love that footage.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. You're saying you want to see something like that with this hot staging, right? Just booster confetti all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the booster would handle that, considering that it's still locked onto that hot stage ring when that happens. It may cause some problems, but I don't know. I feel like the booster has shown that it's extremely strong, and it can probably handle most things like that. As long as it doesn't penetrate the actual like forward dome, which I highly doubt would happen, I think it would be fine. I mean, it essentially survived
Famous
the hot
last
stage ring
words.
coming loose, right? Yeah, it essentially has survived the hot stage ring coming loose on. Man, I get these flights all backwards. Is that flight 3?
Yeah, flight 3.
Flight 3. When,
where they kept. Yeah, they kept it on through re-entry, and it definitely looks like the hot stage ring ripped itself off to die aerodynamic forces on that flight. At least I'm pretty sure it did, because they never showed any kind of footage after the fact or anything. And then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, we're going to start jettisoning the hot stage." Well, I wonder why. So that's kind of, I was like,
Hey, they got to learn somehow.
Yeah.
They observed. They made an observation with the hot staging ring and then adapted for the next flight, man.
Yeah, they just
nice
put
UI.
pushers on the forward dome, and then they ejected the thing.
Yeah.
They're like, off it goes. We don't want it.
No, get out of here. All right. So, all right, let's get back into the weeds. Let's go a little bit into the weeds more. Now, more. Or, you know what? I'm going to clear up the support queue before we do that. And then I want to talk more about, ship designs and stuff. So, are we getting ready? All right. We got Chuck Rogers with 1 Red Team membership. Give him 1 Red Team membership. Thank you very much. We got Josh JLP with the £4 sterling super chat. Looking forward to the Ryan rant. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you, sir, as well. We got Booster 1062B. 1062 or 1062, as I like saying now. I'm not gonna not say that from now on. I'm just gonna keep saying that. Honestly, the biggest revelation from the flight and technical update is that the booster flip direction was random and not controlled. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Isn't that nuts? Yeah, that caught me a little off guard. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, all right. Yeah, of course it does that. Why wouldn't it? Right? Like, sure. Okay. Anyway, we got Timothy Creed with a $5 super chat. Would breaking open a pinata be harder in 0G? Yeah, that would be challenging. Are you blindfolded or not? I mean, it's going to be a fiesta, man. You got to be blindfolded.
It depends how you break it, though. If you break it the traditional way, in 0G, I will break it by just pushing it against the wall of the spacecraft, because it doesn't have as much resistance. It doesn't drop down. It just flies off to the wall. So you just throw it very fast and very quickly and just...
Right. I mean, something tells me that swinging around a stick on a space station is probably not the smartest thing to do. Like, I don't know. It's not like there's anything delicate up there, right? Yeah, right. It's fine. It's good, man.
What could go wrong?
All right. Yeah, no, it would be fun. How hard could it be, right? Like, Ninja Decimator with the 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much. Ninja Decimator. There we go. And then we got Feeman 2S with the $2 super chat saying, "Hi, CSI Starbase, we love you." There you go, man. People love you, dude. There you go.
Definitely appreciate it. I'm glad to hop on here. I was wondering what I was going to do with my Friday, so this was a nice, surprise on my end. Even though I did reach out to EJ, so yeah, I guess I can't necessarily call it a surprise.
No, hey, but I actually made it happen. This is my show. I'm the host. You caught me on a good day. If I wasn't hosting, I don't know if I would have been able to pull this, So they put me in charge. I don't know why, but here we are, man. We're good. All right. Let's see. Let me see. So, okay. Fellas, we know we have 7 and 8 at 2 different failures. You guys are skeptical about that. So I want to know. Let's get further into the weeds. I'm going to go around the horn here. So,
I have not talked yet.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex.
Because I only said that, it's confusing and everything. It's the same as Falcon 9. So I can have my go now at this.
What kind of stream is it where you've talked the least? I just want to point that out.
Did I talk the least? Because I talk a lot on the Blue Origin section. Anyways,
he did. Yeah.
Dude, send it. Let's go. Let's hear your thoughts. I'm interested.
So of course, I don't want to say SpaceX is lying, bro. Like, as Zach and Ryan were talking about, it's true that it's just confusing, right? And also, as Zach was saying, it's probably the problem that we obviously don't have as much access as they have, because obviously they have all the data, right? All the data from this, all the data that they were able to gather, they have it there, and they were able to know what happened. It is also true that it just seems so much like it, right? Like you cannot put the blame on the people that thought they were similar, because at face value, with no further info, when you look at the webcast, right, and the footage and everything, it's like it just looks so similar, even down to like the fire in the engine section and everything, which you can see like 30 seconds before of that engine blowing up and everything. And so it's like the way that it is explained about some hardware issue and things like that. Maybe we can pull up the actual update, which Kevin has been trying to pull up for a long time. Oh, CubeSoup. Oh, no.
Oh, that was awesome. Do that every time, please.
I'm not gonna read it off this because it's too small on my screen. I'm gonna read it off my laptop because it's here. It's closer to me. So it says here. It says the most probable root cause for the loss of Starship was identified as a hardware failure in one of the upper stages center Raptor engines that resulted in an inadvertent propellant mixing and ignition. And so my thinking here is like, what do you mean, right? Yeah, okay. So some update in the back channel.
Alex, my question to you is, does that mean that there's a leak inside of the LOX tank?
I mean,
that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
A hardware failure in one of the upper stages center Raptor engines. It resulted in inadvertent propellant mixing and ignition. And so it's like, what kind of hardware failure? Like, because hardware failure, to me, in my brain, it just sounds like the thing just went off, right?
Yeah.
Like some kind of, like this. When we were talking here about the information and everything, it is precisely this kind of thing, right? It probably is completely true. I mean, they just don't say what kind of hardware, and so it's like you gotta go into the little things, but we can't because we don't have that information. So one of the big things that I'm hoping is that once we get into the NASA stuff of Starship, like actually launching Artemis missions and things like that, we can get more information about when things like this obviously I don't want things like this happening in the future, but if they do happen, I really want the extra information that comes from press conferences and things like that. Like as I was saying before, with the Falcon failures last year, most of the extra information, like 90% of the information came afterwards, after the update from SpaceX's website on different conferences and things like that. So my point here is, again, I don't want to say, oh, SpaceX is lying, but rather I don't understand it, right? And I want to understand it. I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. Because of what Zach and Ryan were talking about before, like just that alone, compared to what you see on the stream, it's like, okay, that's weird. Like maybe the fire that we see on the stream could be related to that propellant mixing that they talk about. Like maybe. I don't know, right? Like this is the whole thing. Like we can be like this for the whole day, and never really arrive to any point. And I feel like that's a problem here. That we had all of these many theories before the update came out, and I don't think anyone can blame any other person for being confused about this. I've seen Twitter. Space Twitter has been quite of a fireball today, throwing certain words at each other, and I feel like that's not a healthy thing to do.
I got lots of shade today.
Yeah, I feel like that's like I just went on my own way. I was like even talking about there were thunderstorms in Seville today and things like that. I didn't talk anything, but I feel like it shouldn't be something that we should blame anybody for thinking that it is a bit weird, a bit iffy. And the same way for those that, for them, it might seem crystal clear. Like, oh yeah, it makes total sense and let's move on. Like, I want to be the voice of reason here, even though sometimes I'm a bit less of that. But for now, in this topic, I feel like we should like not resort to that kind of stuff. at least.
You said something that kind of tickled me a little bit, because one of the things that I miss, and this really only happened like one time, was that after the launches, Elon would do the Twitter space, right? And then we could ask him all these questions. And I think that's the one thing that's missing, because it's like, okay, like, yeah, you have your public statement that's more of like the PR team went over this and was like, no, remove that. Just leave this, because while this is missing some information, it's still technically correct. That part, I wish I could say it's surprising, but it's not. I feel like, to me, SpaceX is kind of like a little brother to me, where like I feel like I understand the way they think and the way they do things a lot, to the point where if something doesn't make sense, I'm like, okay, like, all right. I mean, if you say so. And again, not to like saying anybody's lying or anything like that. It's just, I feel it deep in my heart that something is missing here, and I just want to know what it is. And I get that, like, to some degree, you want to make sure that you like keep public confidence and whatnot. But like, after all of these failures that they've had, like, I mean, who really cares about that? You know what I mean? In my opinion, I think the reason that people like SpaceX so much is because they just get so much information from them. Like, they're typically not afraid to be honest with what happens. And in my opinion, it feels like that is lacking here. Like, they've kind of taken a step back in that, and they're like, oh, well, we'll give the minimal information on this. But like, what happens if it happens again? Then what? You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna say in that case? You know what I mean? And I feel like, with the issue more than likely being in order of magnitude more complicated than what they're explaining to us, like, that kind of stuff is just interesting to know. And it doesn't like reduce people's confidence in the program. It more like tells us, like, you understand what happened. You also are have no issue with admitting that this is not necessarily potentially something that you can fix the first time, and then you got to like actually trial and error this solution out. But I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time, if it is what they say it is, then okay. But like, I just feel like something's missing.
I also want to add one thing, which, I always see this comment when I sort of talk about, the lack of information and blah, 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 from any company in general, not just SpaceX. There's always the response or reply that, well, it's a private company. You're not entitled to this information. Well, it's like, yes, but, right? We used to get information. We used to get more common updates, more frequent updates and things like that. Like, we used to have it, and now I'm longing for it. Like, I long those days where it was like, we used to get it. I'm not saying they should do it because, oh, I'm entitled to it, right? Like, it's more of a right, rather than they should do it because I say so, right? And also, a second side of that is, as we were saying before, and as you two were talking about, second Ryan, precisely about, in order for us as people that sort of try to explain this to the general public, for us to be able to do that, we also need to understand it. If all of we have in our brains is just, question marks from this, it's going to be hard to tell somebody that may not be that much into all of this, tell them this is what happened, right? Like, all we can say is just, this is what SpaceX said. You make up your mind. And that's one of the things that I've been doing when I've been writing some of our Starbase update videos, where it was like, these are the possible options of what SpaceX is doing, but we have no idea, right? And it might seem like it's not satisfactory, but it's like, that's all we can do. Like, you can go into many different theories, but at the end of the day, that's what it is, right?
So, yeah, I mean, Alex, like, okay, fellas, like, you call me nuts, all right? But, I mean, people do anyway, so it's fine. You were saying we have a lack of information from SpaceX. Like, we don't get as much information as we do. We don't get, dude, SpaceX literally lets us peruse our cameras around their launch and production site. Like, you said all that with, with a live camera looking inside the like Mega Bay 2 with the Starship there. Like, do you think like the information that we're getting is different, or do we actually getting less information?
It's more the level of the detail, right? Like if we see some truck going down, like I'm seeing in the back channel, people in the field are seeing trucks at the launch site, for example, because they're loading the tank farm and whatnot. Like, okay, sure, but that's to be expected. Like it's a kind of information, right? Like the kind of detail. For example, here when they talk about the hardware issue, and it's like, okay, but what kind of hardware issue? Like in the past, you will probably be able to talk with Elon on Twitter and be able to, try to gather some extra data, try to pull in some more information and be able to, form a better image, a better idea of what happened during that, other than some vague hardware issue statement, right? I'm talking more about that rather than, we got so much access, which is not fully true, because soon this view will disappear because we're going to get a big, massive gigabay in front of this. So we're not going to be able to see this. And we're probably not going to see any more older things, but anyway.
A few minutes ago, Ryan reached out to the side and his arm disappeared. And that made me think I would give my left arm to have the chance to grill Elon in a Twitter space and just be like, all right, well, what about this? You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, if you do ask the question, he will give an answer. There are times where he's like, oh, yeah, and he kind of dodges around it. But for the most part, he's pretty open with these things. So I wish that we did have that chance, because, it's still the development phase of the program. And, after Flight 1, I really thought we were going to start having regular occurrences of these Twitter spaces. But that hasn't happened, unfortunately.
And speaking of transparency, it is true, though, that what we're getting lately is not from Elon himself, but from other officials at SpaceX. They've been much more open on social media, right? Maybe not as in-depth, maybe not as, full of information, but we do get some bits here and there. From Kiko, for example, from John Edwards, Michael Nichols as well. And then we also have Shanna Diaz. And I believe Kevin has... Were you really using this?
Oh, they did it. They did the breaking news thing. Yes. Awesome.
This thing that read wrong.
Don't make me laugh, because I had... Okay, anyways. So we've got this tweet from, or ex-post from Shanna Diaz. She's essentially pretty much head of the Starship stuff at Starbase. It's really weird. I think it's like Starship Engineering or something. And so she's there saying, after a long few months and a heroic effort by the ship test team yesterday doing a final verification test at Massey's, Ship 35 and Booster 14 are in final checkouts and will be heading to the pad this weekend. She acknowledges that she's been very quiet lately because, they've been heads down working on all of the Starship stuff. And of course, first flight proven booster with a stress test and water landing, corrective actions from the last flight on the Raptor front. And then we still have that re-entry gauntlet set for the ship once it gets to that portion of the flight, which I hope it gets to that part. I really am craving that plasma footage, please, especially with the new cameras. Please. This one's going to be stressful the whole time, but lots of opportunities. I'm going to be really, really stressed on this one. And then, excuse me, we have that sort of other reply talking precisely about, is it root cause kind of thing, or is it, expectations? And so she's saying there, SpaceX always works to identify root cause of failures and provide mitigations and corrective actions to those causes. In many cases, the corrective actions are tiered so that they will cut in over multiple flights. Essentially, sometimes they try to mitigate a little bit here and then the next flight a little bit there and blah, 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 all that stuff. But yeah, I guess, Ryan is noting in the back channel that we use the breaking news on an actual breaking news.
That was your NSF.
And also, the first time.
Alex, what that statement kind of tells me, and this is also something I thought of when I was reading through the blog post, was that it potentially being like a tiered situation where they have to solve this over multiple flights. Like, to me, that just continues to make me think that there's another issue that they're like not mentioning, especially when they mentioned that once they are able to integrate Raptor 3, that would help them, that would allow them to like actually have the mitigating, how did they phrase that? But basically, it sounded like they were waiting for Raptor 3 in order to like fully solve the issue. And to me, that seems like something different than
Yeah, future upgrades to
happened?
Starship will introduce the Raptor 3 engine, which will include additional reliability improvements to address the failure mechanism. I also want to say one thing, because I actually looked this up. So they also say that extensive ground testing has taken place since the flight test to better understand the failure, including more than 100 long-duration Raptor firings at SpaceX's McGregor test facility. We went through our footage of the McGregor test because, you know, we have McGregor Live, hi, and we can see all of these Raptor tests and everything. And I think it's like barely 100 tests since Flight 8, like just barely, of long duration, because they say long duration, right? Yeah, more than 100 long duration Raptor firings. And it's like if you stretch the, you know, the definition of long duration, you can sort of get to 100, but it's like, yeah.
My
We'll have
But
to go
even
back and
mentioning
see.
that,
I'm going to be
even
working on
mentioning
this.
that though, it's like, okay, you're not doing 100 static fires so that you could figure out that you need to preload an engine mount, right? Like,
Yeah.
I am not convinced that my speculation was incorrect. Let's just put it that way.
I
I want to be convinced.
Again-
I don't mind being wrong. I just want to be convinced, and I'm not.
Also, testing an engine on a stand is not the same thing as testing an engine on a vehicle, whether it's a static fire or flight.
Well,
I do
that's
wonder-
not necessarily true. In the case of and again, this is just on the speculation side. In the case of Pogo, like, it is actually physically possible to test that on a test stand. It just involves surging the actual fuel flow, so you can do that.
True.
I don't know if they're necessarily set up to do that at McGregor, but you can do that on both the integrated vehicle and on the actual engine test stand. And in my opinion, if you were trying to like dial in a some type of accumulator or suppression system, that's what you would do. You'd probably test it 100 times, all at different frequencies, and basically get an idea of how that system is responding to all of the various frequencies that you're testing it through. So I don't know. The unsaid things are making me lean more towards the speculation instead of further away from it.
I do wonder. Oh, hey, there we go. McGregor Live. Today is being a bit quiet. Only 2 tests so far: Falcon 9 second stage and a Merlin engine. But I will say though, we have seen, at least in the past, them making some changes to the McGregor test stands. To test different, like I remember there was at one point on one of the horizontal bays, there was this like big white thing, sort of where, and like some kind of big white tube and everything that will get connected to where the Raptor will go on one of those bays. And like there was speculation that maybe they were sort of mimicking the conditions of like the header tank or something like that. It was weird. Because that was sort of around the time when they had these hops and everything, and they kept failing with because of the pressure in the header tanks and everything. They also have modified things like in front of the horizontal stand, for example, to do the plate testing with the water and everything. They've done that as well. We've also seen tests with like gimbaling the Raptor 15 degrees off the ground and trying to fire off center and things like that. Like they've done so many things. Like, do you think they couldn't have done that and we just didn't notice? Like, it is also true that, to be fair, our own friend Gary Blair is being a bit busy lately, and so there's not been too much from that end. But I'm definitely gonna go back and try to see and compare like some of the pictures that we have from those stands from like maybe a couple of months ago versus recent views, because there might have been some changes to some of these stands that has allowed them to at least replicate a more flight-like condition, probably not a full flight-like condition, but at least close enough for them to be able to do this. And this would explain, like we've seen, I'm going off a tangent here, but I really think this is important to discuss because we've also seen from both the horizontal stand and the vertical stand at McGregor, we've seen at least a series of different tests. At the horizontal stand, it was like 352 seconds of burn duration, which is roughly the same amount of time that the burn for the ship. Like it's about 6 minutes or so, and then there's another one which is from the vertical stand, the old vertical stand, not the new ones, which I think it was like 260 seconds, which if I'm not mistaken, that's 4 minutes and 20 seconds. We've talked about all of this in our Starbase update episodes. We have introduced this sort of McGregor minute or something like that, I think it's called. And I actually thought about this on my own, like let's introduce stuff from McGregor, because it seems like they're testing stuff. Like they were testing also a booster, a Block 3 booster header tank and things like that. So it seems like now very fitting, because in hindsight, it sounds like those tests had very fixed, like it was test after test after test, all of them are very similar lengths, like 352, 351, 353, 352, and 350, and so on and so forth. And from the other stand, from the vertical stand, it was like 260 seconds, 260 seconds, 259, 261. Like it was always multiple tests like this. And then we had recently this, but this is from one of the new stands, which we believe has Raptor 3 instead. So this might be maybe some of those tiered things that Shane Diaz was talking about. And there was like this big fireball, not the first time we've seen some of these big fireballs, by the way, when they're testing Raptor 3s. As you can see, it's an engine still in development, but quite interesting.
Dude, that's a good point about the test stands. Not, we don't watch the test stands as much. I mean, because they're testing so much, right? It's tough to see, but that, maybe we like, now I'm thinking like go back and look at the test stands and, like go back and look at all this test stand footage that we have and see if we missed something, right? Now, what's up, Ryan?
I was going to say, when Gary does fly again, I will definitely be looking between all the stands to see if they've added anything new to it. See if they're trying to test something or trying to replicate something. It's, overall with Ship 35, I think they're throwing some mitigations at it. Like, I do love the nitrogen purge. It does make me chuckle, the nitrogen purge. But it is kind of funny to try to use a nitrogen purge at that altitude. And, especially with the leaks that they've had. I don't know how well a gaseous nitrogen is going to work when you're leaking liquid oxygen into an attic or an engine bay. I don't really know how well that's going to work, but I hope they have figured out something, or they're trying something, and maybe 35 will work. Maybe it will. I will be the first to cheer if it does, because that means I don't have to write another post-mortem article on the fact that it failed again. And here we are with 3 failures in a row. But my confidence level is not really that high with it. I don't know how... I don't know... I have this distinct feeling we may only get like 1 or 2 Block 2s that make it past SECO. And yes, that means I'm dooming 35, 36, and possibly 37. I don't think they have the problem nailed down. I don't know how long it'll take to solve, but I honestly, overall, looking at everything, I don't think they have this problem nailed down. I don't know if they know what it is. But that's just me. It's just me.
Hmm.
It's
So-
not. And maybe everyone's
okay,
going to call me doom and gloom and pessimist and everything like that, but I really don't have a lot of confidence. I think all we're going to see is Ship 35 is going to get up there, 14 is going to do its whole thing, and then 35 is going to go. And yeah.
So, okay, all right. I'm gonna segue this into a question. We'll go around the horn here. So, Ryan, do you just? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I kind of do mean to put you on the spot. Do you think it'll make it? What's your percentage chance of thinking this thing's gonna make it to second to SECO?
15%.
15? Whoa, Zach.
I don't
what about
think
you?
it
What
will.
do you?
I don't think it will.
Really, Zach? What are you at in terms of percentage?
40%.
Oh.
Okay, we're trending in the right direction. Alex?
40.
I feel like I jinxed every single flight ever since they've flown Block 2. I don't know what to say. I really want it to go well, though. I guess I'll have to pray to the Lord of Methane. I'm going to say the joke answer. It's going to be 50-50. Either fails or it succeeds. There you go.
Oh, my joke answer, if they swap out Kate Tice, it'll probably, with Jesse.
Because
yeah, Jess.
every...
Yeah,
because
Kate Tice.
she's being at
Super bad
Starbase.
luck.
Yeah.
She needs to go back to Hawthorne, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
Poor Kate.
yeah.
Oops.
Oops.
Well, I mean,
Don't take it badly if you're watching Kate.
The only Starship launches that I went down for, the ship blew up both times.
That's EJ's
so
fault.
It could be me. Like
EJ and
it
Gene's
could be
fault.
me.
Both their fault. Yeah.
Oops.
Maybe it'll
back
succeed this
Gunsmoker.
time because EJ's not there. Yeah.
Bring back. Yeah, that's now, Zach. Now we're talking. Bring back the legendary commentator to watch the rocket go up into space. Love you, John.
Nominal.
You're the man.
Normal.
Everything is normal. So you, man, I don't know. Not good odds, guys. Jeez.
Now,
wait,
Okay, no, but what do you think?
25.
What do you
I
think?
Give
Yeah.
a percentage.
You. Because you've been dodging all of this.
Yes.
What do
You.
you mean I've been dodging? I'm the host.
But we have
Wait,
been
give a
talking and
percentage, come
everything
on.
and doing the hard work.
You were
Say.
you talking? When did
Yeah.
that happen?
Oh yeah. I talked.
All right, fellas, you guys brought up a lot of good points. I'm going to give it 70-75. I think this thing's going to go. See, like, here's the thing. We've been basing all of our kind of like speculation off of that. This might be, they might be the same failure. And to be fair, they might be. But if the Flight 8 failure is truly different than Flight 7, right? If it's truly different, then we'd have to go back and extrapolate all the tests that SpaceX has been doing, like we said, on the test stands. Like Ship 35's just very bizarre schedule, quite frankly, a bizarre schedule between the static fire that didn't work, right? Bringing it back, something popped on the stand, bringing it back over there, a seemingly nominal flight, then going right back, and then going back to the test stand and doing a spin prime yesterday. If they truly had different failures, we don't even know exactly what they would be testing for. So for all we know, this testing regime could have figured out, they could have figured it out. They could be good to go, but I will concede that, the Flight 8 mishap thing, that the update that SpaceX posted is a little bit vague. I mean, I personally didn't think it was that vague. Like, the first time I read it, but now that you guys kind of mentioned it, they're kind of just like, oh yeah, the hardware broke. It's like, okay, yeah, the front fell off. All right, great. So I'm not really sure what that means, but if 7 and 8 truly had different failures, right, then this testing regime, we would have to figure out what they were testing and why. Like, and the testing regime is definitely different. Now, whether that's to say it's different because they still haven't figured it out, or it's different because they're trying to solve a different problem, I don't know. Either way, more data is going to be more better, right? Jack, you're out there. I know more data, more better, right? I think that they wouldn't send this thing unless they were sure, like at least the best odds of success. So I'm going to say up 70, 75, if you ask me.
All right, I am. Here we go. Poll in chat.
Yeah, do it.
0 to 50%. Hi, I'm Ryan. What's
That is one of the options. Please pick it.
15 to 40%, 40 to 80%, and then 100% much success. So we'll see. I'm kind of curious the numbers at the end of it all. I'm kind of curious who agrees with me, or who agrees with Zach or Alex or EJ. Kind of curious.
Mm-hmm.
Or who thinks that there's no issue at all and it's going to succeed no matter what.
Dude,
I just want to add to the whole different, like them saying it's a different failure mechanism than last time. Like, I'm just rereading through this, and just like I remember, like, you know, the Flight 8 was so fast after Flight 7, and they like legitimately, as far as we could tell, didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Like, there was the 60-second static fire test. They mentioned the nitrogen suppression system, that they upgraded that. What else did they say they did? Let's see.
They changed like propellant temperatures. They changed, I think, some throttle settings.
Levels.
Yeah, they changed a few. They did like some software and other little mitigations here and there. I'm just going to say this. They mentioned harmonic resonance, or harmonic, whatever it is. I can't remember what the heck it was. Harmonic something.
Oscillations.
They mentioned it. There was only a month and a half between the flights. Is that enough time to solve that? If they really solved that after a month and a half, I am astounded. Truly, I am. That is amazing. If they solved that after a month and a half, truly.
And if they did, you would think they would like brag about exactly what they did,
right?
You know what I mean?
I would think they would be like, "Oh, we did all this stuff and we fixed it. Here's how we did it so well." They didn't say it though. I'm sorry, but part of me makes me think that they haven't.
Yeah. The specific line that they said was after completing the investigation into the loss of Starship on early on its 7th flight test, several hardware and operational changes have been made to increase reliability of the upper stage. And that was it.
Yeah.
What I find interesting. Oh, sorry,
ahead,
EJ.
No, dude. All you, bro.
What I find interesting is that one of the things that it says was not about the where is it? Yeah, here. So the mitigations put in place after Starship's 7th flight test to address harmonic response and flammability of the ship's attic section worked as designed prior to the failure on Flight 8. But I do have a question. If they address the flammability of the ship's attic, where did the flames came for Flight 8? And why are they putting more nitrogen?
Those were red
why
flames.
Are they putting more nitrogen now?
Actually.
Like,
what's that, Zach?
I said those were red flames instead of blue ones. That was the difference, actually. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the massive fire that was in the engine section of Flight 8 come from?
again, I'm not saying they're lying or everything, but you can acknowledge here at least a bit of PR speak, right? Like, but anyways, one thing that I was gonna say before is that we're talking about all of this, and I think we can all agree that we will prefer it if the chances that we all said were 100%. But obviously, these issues have happened, and so obviously some of us have our doubts. Even EJ, which was the highest percentage, is still 75%. Like, it's not 100, right?
The
I feel
vagueness
like
of the statement is kind of like where that 25% is kind of coming from. Like they made of it pinned down, but you're not going to know until you fly. But anyway, keep going.
No, yeah, and so I really wanted to succeed. I really want more flights, and in fact, I was gonna seg this with. So, they solved, as Ryan said, they solved the issue of Flight 7, and they flew again within like a month and a half. If Flight 9 goes well, do you think Flight 10 will be rather quickly afterwards? Like maybe within a month or something?
I mean, they're they're just started installing engines on 36, so I would guess that they're going to probably try to get Flight 10 off the ground pretty quickly with 16, because 16 should be ready. Booster 16 should be ready for a static fire. They might try to hit that. They might try to hit a new turnaround milestone on the pad if they can. I mean, they might try to hit like 3 weeks rather than 4. That's the question on if it goes well. What if it doesn't? Or you get a third failure, it happens again at the same time.
Oh, dude, stop saying that out loud, man. You're killing me.
But
I hate hearing it.
There you go. I'm on top of a Starship now.
You're the header tank.
Yeah, there you go. I'm right at the header tanks, exactly, actually. Right at the top after the nose cone, the header tanks and the COPVs. Anywho, I guess the question becomes, what if it doesn't go well? I could see Flight 10 pretty quickly right after. They're close with both those vehicles. It looks like they can turn that pad around pretty quickly now because, like, I don't know, Zach, they didn't touch Pad A, like, at all after that static. They didn't touch it.
It feels like they don't care about Pad A anymore, honestly. I'm confused about that.
It doesn't feel like they care.
They did. I can't remember if it was after Flight 7 or 8 that they had to swap out one of the clamp arms. They actually had to cut it out. So it's not like they haven't been doing anything. It's just that we're not seeing it because nobody's really paying attention to it anymore. I think the amount of attention being paid to Pad A is like a fraction of what it was before because with all the stuff going on with Pad B. But to a point that you made just a little bit ago, I think if it fails again, the one good thing that comes out of it is that we would actually potentially get more information this time. Like if it happens 3 times in a row, like they almost are like obliged to go into more detail, right?
Like the other part of that is if it fails at the same location for a third time and you disrupt flights again for a third time, I mean those airlines are going to be happy. The airports aren't going to be happy. The FAA again won't be happy about that. Does the FAA say, okay, you need to stop until you figure this out or something? Like, does that happen? I guess it's the big question. I mean, we'll find out. I don't know.
We got the poll results.
Ooh, what
8% agree with me. There you go.
All right, so 0 to 15% high on Ryan is 8% out of 652 votes. We got 40 to 80 is 54%. 15 to 40, I get this out of order because it's out of order. Anyway, is 21% and 100% success with just 15%. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like your median there is right around where I said with what chat thinks, at least out of 650 votes. So anyway, we got another poll. Geez, Chris going hard on the polls.
Oh,
Chris going nuts with those. But I that to your other point, Zach, I truly, they, based off the way they've treated Pad A, and we've got 4 flights left, I think they are literally trying to just make sure it's good enough to do these 4 flights, and then it's slice and dice time, and it's goodbye. And they're not going to miss that thing whatsoever once it's gone. It's not long for this world. I think it's gone by the end of the year. Well, it decommissioned, I should say, by the end of the year, and then they'll start scrapping it. But yeah,
I hope before they scrap it, we get to see what the surface of the pancake looks like. I've been dying to see like an up close image of that.
Yeah, that thing's taking so much punishment.
Yeah, rockets are pretty abrasive to anything. Well, actually, I was about to say that anything that isn't the rocket engine, but that's not entirely true now, is it? Okay. So, you know what, dude? Just a little bit of segue here. I'm going to pop through some support, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But we're going to pop through it here real quick. And you guys are going ham with the super chats and all the support. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. That helps us something fierce. It helps us keep this, this ship afloat here, this drone ship afloat. Oh, yeah, that's good. I like that. All right, so we got Sideshow Bob upgrading to a Capcom member, and then we have Russell Snodgrass popping in with $100 super chat. Saw my first CSI Starbase yesterday. Amazing Pogo explainer. Well, while moving out of your studio. Nice. Looking for a new home, Zach? Nice to see you here with my buddies. Yeah, Zach, where are you going to go now? Where's the next studio? 'Cause you know that the high base,
that
high
part
bay's
is
gone.
that part is still a secret. But really quick, was that a real train in the background?
No,
Or was that
no, that's
okay?
the hype train.
You need to
The hype
get
train
used
honk.
to this.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the sound Kevin's soundboard.
Wait, you like trains, Zach?
Yeah, I do. I'm just glad I don't live near one. Yeah.
Okay,
But
yeah, we're
to
friends
answer
now.
the
All right, cool, sweet.
question, I don't know. I mean, well, I do know. We've been working on it for a while. I don't want to reveal too early, like what the next move is. But yeah, I keep a lot of that stuff secret, just like I kept, because everybody's asking for months, like, oh, what are you going to do? How are you going to make your next episode if the high bay is gone? I'm like, you'll see. So yeah, just a little bit of patience.
There you go.
I do have like a 5. I was working on a 3-part series, and then I abandoned that and turned it into a 5-part series. So, yeah, we did the first two.
As one does, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it felt necessary. I mean, the first 2 were just about the modifications to Pad A in order to allow it to basically to reduce the turnaround time between launches. So from there, I was going to go into the Pad B stuff, but I think it's better to start with Massey's flame trench, Pad B flame trench, and then Pad B launch mount, all in separate episodes, because to me that's more of a natural progression of things. So that's the current plan.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, in build order, dude. Chronological is best. It's like watching Star Wars, dude. You got to do it in chronological order.
Yeah, and honestly, like I wrote all 3 of those episodes already, and I was like, I did the flame trench one probably about 9 months ago, maybe. Like I have Ryan Hansen Space working on animations for that for like 9 months, and then something else happened. We had to abandon that and focus on something else. And then I started doing the Pad B stuff, and then Flight 8 happened, and I was like, all right, well, probably need to talk about this. So I think I have like 5 or 6 episodes that are all like 80 to 90% completed that I've like pretty much put on the side. Like I did one about the Mega Bay like 2 years ago. I still have like these my German friends that are working on the animations for those are really upset with me because it's been 2 years that I've been sitting on these animations for that. So yeah, it'll a lot of these will. It's all about timing. You know what I mean?
Back channel.
When the right time
Back channel.
happens.
Are you hearing all that? Are you hearing all that? Long
trench,
videos take long time to make.
Oh yeah.
You cannot blame me. Okay, I'm not alone.
They're not easy.
Just saying.
Jeez. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, Alex.
Oh, there he is.
I'm gonna get the fury of our producer now because I said that.
Yeah, I don't think it was wise, saying that to Kevin when Kevin's producing this stream. But, hey, you do you. Go off, man. It's all good.
He gave me a lot just because of the Raptor video. The Raptor video is down in editing, finally. But it's been a while.
All right, so let me pump through the rest of this support. We got Space Pope with 5 Red Team memberships, blessing the stream and this trench. Mystical lizard man of the universe, the Space Pope. See? Nomine Patriot Shuttly. All right, so sorry. All right, so we have ties here with 1 Red Team membership, and then Craig what? Craig, what the heck, man? You got to do me like that? No EJ in Texas, so it's going to be a perfect flight.
You said it yourself.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If when it, you know what? I'm going to say when it makes it to Seco, I'm simultaneously going to be really happy and then be like, oh crap, it is me. Oh no.
Hey, I like, in regards to all of the stuff we've been talking about with Flight 9 coming up, I will say this. I am absolutely happy to be proved wrong and this thing fully succeeds. I want it to, because it means awesome things for the Starship program going forward. Seriously, I don't want it to fail. As much as people think that's what's going on, I don't want it to. I want it to succeed. I want to see Block 2 re-enter. I want to see the awesome camera angles. I want to see the new flaps work in re-entry. I want to see all that. I want to see the deployment of the sim links. I want to see all of that. I want it to get there.
Really, so, Kevin?
just tag me if you can all anyone in the Discord. I'm gonna add. This is gonna be a lot of tags.
I think Kevin
you can
is
just tag me someone.
hinting that we should probably say, hey, we have the stream up on our channel, both the stakeout and the launch stream, and you can set up notifications. But also, he did a cube zoom. I saw that.
Yeah, guys, for all your Flight 9 commentary and if I'm there, it's gonna be a party. I'm not gonna lie to you. For all your Flight 9 fun, we do a huge stakeout stream before the launch, and then we have really, really nice launch coverage with a lot of we have a lot of personnel down in Boca right now. It's not just Jack that we locked into the NSF bunkhouse and just said stay here, and then we all went home. I'm not saying that's what usually happens. But no, we got a good amount of personnel. Always trying to up our game with the coverage. So yeah, set your reminders. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun stream, and I'm not gonna be a part of it, and that makes me sad. Stakeout though, your boy's gonna be
Stakeout's fun. A lot of fun.
Anyway, so we got a $20 super chat from Michael Coviello. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Thank you, NSF. Your work and passion for spaceflight are beyond match. Hey, we love this stuff, dude. We wouldn't be able to be here and put the passion into it if we didn't. Me and the crew that we got with us here. There's some real space nerds in here, And then Telstar86 with a £2 super chat to make AJ happy. I'll just say, Long March 5.
Long March 5. There you go.
Now Long March 5.
Yeah, Zach, you don't get the joke, but it's all EJ's fault. But yeah.
It's all good. I don't get a lot of jokes sometimes. I don't feel like that.
It's fine. All right. Now, a little bit more on a little bit more about Flight 9. Now, Zach, you were talking about a little bit before. You were talking about, we're missing something. We're missing something. Now, dude, after listening to you guys, I can't help but think that you might be right. What do you think we're missing? Is a real question. Like, if you had to put your finger on it, I understand we're speculating, we're theory crafting here, guys. All right, what would you think, Zach?
I mean, to me, there's just the overall root cause of the failure is just such a big mystery to me, and the reason it deserves being explained is because, as far as the Raptors go, everything below the aft dome is the same. Still the same engines, still the same engine mounts. The only thing that's changed is within the actual tank of the vehicle. So, and I mean, your fuel capacity and the actual payload itself has changed. But other than that, like, you would expect to have seen some of these things happen with the V1 or the V2 ships, V1 ships. But that didn't happen, So something dramatically changed between the V1 and V2 ships that is just not being addressed in those explanations, as far as I am concerned. So I think that's, in my opinion, what's missing. That, like, we know that there's something else. You know what I mean? And even they've just kind of left the door open with a lot of their explanation, and it's hard not to feel like there's more, like if Elon had have accidentally done a gaming live stream while they were doing their debrief in the background again, we would have gotten like 50 times more information. Like, we all know that.
Yeah.
So that the amount of information that we got, I feel like we got the 10% that was least desirable. You know what I mean? Like, the other 90 is a big 90, and it would have been nice to get that information.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we will soon. I don't know if Elon decides to get a little bit more involved again, then I think stuff like that will change. So he does have that presentation coming up. There's always a possibility that he could get on a roll and slip up and tell us what we want to know. Fingers crossed for a slip up.
Yeah. I mean, he might, dude. I'm just waiting for him to give us a meeting at Starbase, dude. Right? Like,
this is pretty much how I felt in, because the first thing was like, oh, okay, the Raptor Center had a hardware issue and blah, 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 right? As you said, it's like everything that is not the tanks or the payload bay or whatever, like everything, the aft dome below that, As you said, it's like the Raptors are pretty much the same as before. And this sort of brings up another, without the extra information, it brings up the question which I've sort of put on our own notes ahead of this live stream, where it was like, does this mean this could have happened with any other prior ship or any other prior booster for that matter, right? Like, the booster has 33 of these engines. Could have happened before, right? Or it was just a one-off kind of thing. They said that they had to do 100 tests at McGregor to replicate the conditions and blah, blah, like, and they're making modifications and they need Raptor 3 so that none of this ever happens again or even comes close to happening. Like, is this something that could have happened? Like, I feel like that's the bigger deal here, right? Without the extra information, it appears that it just seems like something that could have happened easily on any other prior flight. And it's like, oof, right? Like, that doesn't leave me that better, right? And then on the other hand as well is the matter of, I remember Elon back in the day, he was hammering down how important it was for, multi-engine, like, he was talking about how the N1 engine, because it had 3 engines, it failed because the engines kept blowing up and everything. But instead, on Super Heavy, they have this shiny, magnificent, shielding system to have like a shield that if the engine blows up, it just doesn't spread to other parts. Then we had Booster 9. One of the engines exploded during the boost back burn, and the whole thing just blew up. Then on ship 20, no, hang on, this was ship 34, flight 8. Now it suddenly seems like there was a Raptor blowing up and taking out other engines, and it's like, then maybe the shields are not as good as Elon was mentioning. And is it wise to just remove them entirely for Raptor 3? If they were supposed to protect the other engines when a Raptor blows, like, you know what I mean, right? Like, if this could have happened on any other prior flight, on any other booster, on any other ship, I'm just going off by the information that they gave us, right? Like, when you take at face value that this was some kind of hardware issue and that they're trying to mitigate it, so it implies that it could have happened any time prior, right? That it was just, it just happened to happen on flight 8. So that's my thinking. It's like, wow, okay, cool.
That's why I have a hard time believing it's a one-off thing. Or something that, it just happened to happen in 34 and there isn't a root cause behind that. Because, like, okay, so if the gimbal mount was an issue and you were leaking from it or it failed or whatever was the mounting because you're adding more preloading to it, but whatever, if that truly was the issue, and it hasn't happened on any of the other 13 engines on every other booster that's flown, or the other 3 on any of the Starships that's flown, even goes all the way back to the SN numbers. And it's just a one-off that does seem interesting to me, and it feels like there is that root cause behind it. There's something else that led to that, which is why when the takeaway I full on had after reading the update and everything was, we got a bunch of effects. They listed a bunch of effects. So they listed like their RVAC issue, they listed the fire, or they listed the flash. That's a bunch of effects. I want to know the cause. Why did that happen? Plus, again, why didn't you mention the RVAC? It is really, really weird that they just didn't mention the RVAC. It was all center this, center that, gimbal mount, whatever, but they didn't mention that. It just makes me, it screams to me that there's a root cause behind it. And I guess they just didn't tell us. Or something.
I mean, you really think they're obfuscating their explanations, Ryan?
I love how me and Zach had the same reaction to that. It was like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I'm not trying to accuse them of anything. Let's just put it that way. I just don't know. It feels like there's something more there.
They've done it since day one. You know what I mean? It's just like we know when they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we still don't have an answer for SN11.
Yeah,
I
did something.
wish we had seen that.
It did something. That thing. I don't know if you call that flying or something, but all right. Well, all right, guys, we're getting close to our end time here. I got one more question. Then I'm going to bounce around here. Before I do, this super chat has a lot to do with it. So, James Yeomans is asking with a 10-pound super chat. You guys are awesome. Awesome as always. Question for Zach. Will we be watching Monaco this weekend and then Flight 9? What a weekend. And here's my question. It's two-part jumping on James. Who do you think is going to win, Zach?
I think Leclerc is going to win. Like I was watching P1 and P2 today, and yeah, he's got it. I think.
You think? You don't
much
think
I would like
Stroll's gonna
CPS win. I think Leclerc is going to win it. It seems like this is like his home. Like he should purchase the Monaco track and license it out to F1. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like how Max owns Imola, like for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did do good there. That is a fact. Yuki, not so much.
No, sir.
Not so much. All right. Well, Ryan, real quick. You F1? You follow F1 at all?
No, I don't.
No. All right, cool. Who do you think is going to win the Indy 500?
You think I follow NASCAR?
That answers that question.
If you want a sports question, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup? I mean, I hope it's not the Florida Panthers. I don't want to.
Indy 500 is not NASCAR, sir.
I know, no.
Yeah, yep. That answered that question, Zach. Okay, we're good. Alex, who you got for F1?
I don't watch F1.
What?
You sounded so sad when you said that.
No. The only F1 that I see is Falcon 1 on the videos from SpaceX on YouTube.
Saturn V engines.
A true
or the Saturn V engines.
A true nerd to the end. Oh boy.
Anyways,
what is this?
If you want to see something that is like, F1 scale, this is huge. Yeah, that's the Blue Origin transporter. This week in Spaceflight, premiering at the top of the hour on our channel. Lots of interesting things. Lots of lunar stories. We had a whole section just about lunar stories because it was not just Blue Origin doing lunar stuff. You'll see if you watch today's episode. Lots of launches as well.
Oh, the breaking news! There it is again.
Breaking news again? What is breaking? Apart from our brains, but
right.
Did Kevin just slip and hit the button again.
Oh, twist.
Twist is breaking.
I mean, my brain is broken with all. I'm just flooded with Starship stuff in my head at the moment. So, yeah, the last 6-7 hours.
You're not leaking like Raptors, are you?
No. Are you?
You sure? No, I'm good.
I'm good.
I am toy like a tiger.
It is true.
Forza Ferrari.
Ryan Caden is saying it in the back channel that it's true. This was the first time we had a version 2 of Twist in a long time because he made a few errors on the first try, which is why you might have not noticed there was like a 5-minute, 10-minute portion of today's show where I was quiet or not even appearing on screen. I was reviewing Twist. It's reviewing the show.
You could have just said that I was politely giving everybody a chance to talk, and we never would have. No, never mind. We would have known. Okay.
Why are they doing?
What's
this is funny. Oh,
it's the bingo card.
No, that's the checklist that we have on next space flight. But somebody made a graphic out of. Ryan, is this your thing?
It's a joke.
It's your thing, Jay. Jay, you can do graphics things. Wow, Ryan has competition.
Right, it's competition.
So this is basically all the criteria that we need for for Flight 9 to go. We have the vast majority of it is good, except the actual rocket being, there.
Hey,
kind of need that.
J. Keegan, there's one more checklist that needs to be on there. 35 needs to be stacked on 14. But anyways, I will say what's kind of odd is they're doing high-speed tests with Pad A right now for some reason.
It's just in case Booster 14 is like, psych, we're going to the
psych, you're coming back. But it's kind of odd.
Get a phone call from the FAA, like, what are you guys doing?
Don't worry about it.
That would not go too well, because it's not on the license.
That's like the SN8 story, where they're like, as we were calling SpaceX, we observed liftoff on their stream, or something like that.
All right. And for all we know, that may have happened. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. All right. So let's get the outro going here. Alex, thank you for being with us. Thank you for working on Twist while you're doing this. And thank you for giving us the awesome explanations as per usual.
Yeah, pleasure as always. And let's see what happens with Flight 9.
Cool. Ryan, thank you for coming on here and being really super pessimistic and making us all feel bad about it.
What I do.
Happy thought. No, I'm just kidding, man. Thanks for coming on, dude. We appreciate you, man.
It's a pleasure as always. Always love talking Starship, and I hope Flight 9 succeeds. I really hope it does.
Yep. And then we had the man, the myth, the legend, the special guest tonight, CSI Starbase, Mr. Zach Golden. Zach, thanks for joining us, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I was glad to be able to join today. Hopefully I'll be able to come on again in the future. It was really nice being able to just put some of the thoughts that I've been having in my head all day out on the stream and, chat with some others who are probably feeling the same way. So, yeah, thank you for having me on.
Dude, you're welcome in here anytime. And congratulations on 100,000 subs on YouTube, dude. That's phenomenal. Hey. Good for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. I am EJ, your host. Hey, I was getting to it, man. What are you? Man, I was EJ, your host. Kevin is doing the back end on today's stream. He did a fantastic job, especially with the breaking news segment. But I want to outro everybody else, all the people that support us. Thank you very much for being here. I'm EJ, your host. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys next week on the next trench.
And here we go.
Chamber pressure looks good. Following up.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flighting downside, FD off. Bring in, FD off.
It's orange!
Orange 45! Oh my god!
Décollage. What is it? Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This is meant to be exciting flare, correct?